Chapter-221-240 Come and hug. Bastard Senluo, what the hell did you say? Lu Han couldn't stop his resentment towards Senju Senluo. The misunderstanding was huge. And he had to pretend he hadn't seen Senju, so he didn't ask Sarutobi Hiruzen, and he didn't know what Senju Senro said. Wow. Very neat. More than 20 Anbu ninjas jumped up at the same time and turned around to look. Jiraiya and Orochimaru also turned around at the same time. Orochimaru's face was full of expression, frowning randomly, not dead. Something seems wrong. Jiraiya's expression became extremely exaggerated, as if her jaw was about to drop, her eyes widened. Standing on the tree, Lu Han raised his hand and waved, indicating that he was alive. Tsunade didn't turn around or looked back, still staring at the tombstone with tears in his eyes, covering his mouth and crying and making an indistinct voice. You. Did you hear it? I heard his voice again. Hey, that's not a hallucination. Jiraiya hurriedly pushed Tsunade's shoulder. Lu Han jumped down from the tree, but saw more than 20 Anbu ninja kneeling on one knee at the same time, respectfully saying in unison, "See Lord Hangwang." With high-pitched or low-pitched or trembling voices, every Anbu ninja looked at Lu Han. His eyes were full of excitement. Get up. Lu Hanlian raised his hand to signal. Tsunade was already stunned, and slowly put down the hand covering her mouth. The corners of her mouth trembled slightly. She wanted to say something, but couldn't make any sound. Yuhi's eyes stared at the boss, and he turned back slowly, as if his body as if stiff. He slowly turned his head and looked behind him. Lu Han just stopped in front of Tsunade, pursed his lips, grinned and gave Tsunade a big smile and said, "Tsunade teacher, I'm back." Cold. Tsunade opened his mouth slightly, as if his throat was blocked by something, and made a choked hoarse sound. Unbelievable. Han has grown taller, thinner, and his hair has grown. Tsunade looked at Lu Han. His body gradually began to tremble, and his emotions became more and more excited. "Tsunade teacher, come and hug." Lu Han took 2 steps forward rudely and hugged Tsunade. Han, woohoo. Tsunade burst into tears after screaming, and hugged Lu Han as well. Because Lu Han was already much taller than Tsunade, it looked like Tsunade was leaning on Han's shoulder. Cough. Jiraiya's eyes rimmed with Yuhi, and seemed to be touched. He coughed lightly, gave Orochimaru a big wink, and gestured to the surroundings. Tsunade, who had cried enough, raised his head on Lu Han's shoulder. Everyone else around him had already left. In this forest, this clearing, and this burial mound, only Lu Han and Tsunade were left. You've grown up. Tsunade stroked Lu Han's cheek, looking up at Lu Han's eyes. It's because I've grown a little taller, and Mr. Tsunade has also changed. He's getting prettier. Lu Han laughed. Bastard. How did you come back? Didn't you die outside? Why did you come back? Tsunade suddenly got angry and grabbed Lu Han's ear, his voice almost roaring. Lu Han only felt a buzzing sound in his mind, and his eyes went black. Tsunade pursed his lips again, his big eyes with teardrops on his eyelashes blinked at Lu Han, as if he was about to cry again. A woman turns her face faster than she turns a book. Anbu Station, in a dimly lit cave. Hatake Sakumo was sitting in a wheelchair. His face was pale and bloodless, his knees were covered with a thick blanket, and he looked extremely haggard. Beside him, Danzo in a black robe sat at the table with a teacup in his hand. It was quiet for a while, and the two did not communicate at all. Call. 2 figures appeared out of thin air at the door. The man on the left was tall and tall, about 25 or 6 years old, with a very ordinary appearance, but he had a fierce aura and his eyes were white. The man on the right is of medium height, thin body, nearly 30 years old, with a pair of 3 Tomo Sharingan in his eyes. Byakugan, Konohanbu's 3rd squad leader, Hyuga Bonin. Sharingan, Konoha Anbu's 2nd squad leader, Uchiha White Knight. Captain, Lord Danzo. After the two appeared, they greeted Hatake Sakumo and Danzo successively. Today, Lord Hokage has made a decision to select the acting captain in Anbu and temporarily replace White Fang's position until he recovers from his injury. Danzo said straight to the point, subconsciously glanced at Hatake Tsukumo beside him. Hatake Tsukumo's eyes are very calm, he doesn't need to say anything, he just needs to be a witness here. Danzo has a special status. He is responsible for the selection of Anbu's acting captain, and Hatake Tsukumo is indispensable for supervision. Although he is injured, he is still Anbu's captain. This will not change. Hyuga Bonin and Uchiha Baiyi's eyes lit up at the same time, and asked them both to talk about this kind of thing, isn't that? That's right, it is to choose the acting captain between the two of you. Danzo glanced at the two of them. I will take full responsibility for this matter. I will release the assessment task to you in 7 days. God, don't go out on a mission. Yes, Lord Danzo. The two agreed in unison, and looked up at each other again. Hyuga Bonin's eyes were calm, while Uchiha Bei's eyes were already cold. The Hyuga clan and the Uchiha clan have always been against maiming. The two have always been in competition in Anbu, and have long had grievances. This time the two competed for the position of acting captain, and it was their chance to understand the grievances. One more thing, but Danzo said again, Hangwang has returned, do you know? Cold light. He's still alive. Both Hyuga Bonin and Uchiha Shiro all looked shocked. Returning to the village at noon, I have already reported the matter of the land of water to Lord Hokage. Danzo said indifferently and solemnly, he has made great contributions to the country of water this time, and Lord Hokage intends to directly mention him as the acting captain, but very hesitant. I estimate that Lord Hokage may finally arrange Hongguang to participate in the competition for acting captain, and he should participate in the assessment task in a few days, so don't be contemptuous, Hongguang's ability cannot be underestimated. Quote. Silence. Hatake Tsukumo frowned and glanced at Danzo. What did Danzo mean by clarifying what he had not decided yet? Just by him, Hyuga Bonin muttered, an odd smile flashing across his face. Ha, cold light, interesting. Uchiha Baiyi even laughed outright. Chapter 0222 Yuhi name Tsunade _ Thank you, Lord Danzo, for telling me. Uchiha Baiyi was still respectful to Danzo, but the smile on his face did not disappear, however. Hongguang is only 13 years old, and he has been in Anbu for less than a year. If he is taken as acting captain, I really don't have a place to put my face. Don't worry about it. Uchiha glanced at Bonin Hyuga in Bai, and said, Captain Bailey can compete with Hangguang and make a difference. Arrogant. Uchiha Baiyi not only ignored the cold light, but also took advantage of the trend to belittle Hyuga Bonin. Bailey is both Hyuga Bonin's Anbu code. Captain Wanfang is very confident. Hyuga Bonin snorted coldly. Confidence is a good thing, but the last time Captain Wanfang was injured during a mission in the Land of Wind, it's only been 2 months, I don't know if the injury is good. Is it? If it is not good, the competition will be unfair. Quote. Uchiha Baiyi's face darkened in an instant. All ninjas basically have the experience of mission failure. If it is considered in the entire Konoha village, it is not uncommon, but if it is considered in Anbu, mission failure is a lesson in the small, and a big one. Shame. It's not terrible to be injured, it's terrible to be injured before completing the task. Hatake Tsukumo was wounded in the Land of Rain before, but he searched out all the information and completed the mission, and the so-called demigod Hanzo of the Salamander wounded him. It is not a shame to say it, and even everyone respects Hatake Tsukumo even more, because he escaped from Hanzo of the Salamander alone. This is not the case for Uchiha Baiyi. When he was on a mission in the Land of Wind 2 months ago, he was exposed due to a strategic error. When the Coverman Genin was evacuated, he was injured in battle. He was carried back by his Anbu ninja because he lost him. This main force, the mission was directly interrupted and declared a failure. It's a shame. Hyuga Bonin exposing the wound. Is that fair? Captain Bailey is overthinking it. Uchiha snorted heavily in Baiyi. I don't have the ability of Captain Biley. Captain Biley can see far, run fast when encountering an accident, and won't get hurt. It is the one who fights with the enemy in the lead and gets too many wounds, so I am used to it. Quote. Captain Mirage seems to despise Byakugan from our Hyuga family. How dare you look down on it, Captain Biley? Don't joke, although Byakugan is not as good as my Uchiha Sharingan, but it is also a great Kekkei Genkai. You said Byakugan is not as good as your Sharingan. Yes. Is there any doubt about that? Enough. A sudden low voice interrupted the exchange of words between Bonin Hyuga and Uchiha Bai. The voice seemed out of breath, but it had a sense of majesty, but it was made by the pale Hitaki Sakumo in the wheelchair. Hyuga Bonin and Uchiha Bai stopped talking and lowered their heads. You guys are not teenage boys anymore. Where did you get so much anger? Less quarrels and more work. Hitaki Sakumo said again. Hyuga Bonin and Uchiha Bai lowered their heads even lower, not daring to say a word. They dared to quarrel in front of Danzo, but did not dare to say more after Hitaki Sakumo spoke. Danzo, as Hokage's assistant, has a higher status than Anbu's captain, but for Hokage's direct subordinate to Anbu's ninja, he is just a man who relies on Hokage's power and ability. It's just the high-level Konoha who gave orders to Anbu, but Captain Anbu is different. He is the one who truly rules Anbu. Although Hitaki Sakumo has only been the captain of Anbu for a few years, his prestige in Anbu has far surpassed that of the previous Anbu captains, because he is too capable and too powerful. Atmosphere was suddenly a little weird. Hitaki Sakumo's reprimand and Hyuga Bonin and Uchiha Bai's tame made Danzo suddenly feel excluded, and he didn't know what to say. A brief silence. Is there anything else to say, Lord Danzo? Hitaki Sakumo looked at Danzo. No more, Danzo said coldly and solemnly. Yeah, Hitaki Sakumo looked at the two of them at the door again. Go and prepare. Yes, the two responded respectfully, and Hanseel left instantly. At the end of the twilight, Yuhisha on the horizon was about to disappear. A faint white mist rose in the forest, and the light was dim. Not far in front of the tomb, there was a dead tree that had been lying in the forest for an unknown number of years. Tsunade Yuhi sat on it with swollen eyes and angrily. Had looked at Tsunade. Not long ago, Luhan told Tsunade about his experience in the Land of Water in general, and both of them had already planned to leave, and then Tsunade started to lose his temper. It's all your fault. I've lost my face. Isn't it? It's just revealing the truth. Where's the shame? Slap tilde. A small stone was thrown on Luhan's forehead. Luhan rubbed his forehead, sat up from the grass, and looked at Tsunade helplessly. Is Tsunade afraid of losing face? Generally speaking, I am not afraid. As the first female man in Konoha, she has done countless, glorious deeds, in the village. However, she has always been strong and rarely shows her weak side, so that others can see her weakness. She would feel ashamed. That bastard, Jiraiya, must be chewing his tongue everywhere. Isn't he? That's the kind of person he is. Shameless and lecherous guy, what kind of good person can he be? And even if he doesn't say it, today's events will spread in Anbu. Okay. While talking, Tsunade and Luhan got up one after another, bickering all the way, and walked to the tomb. Do you want to dig it out? It's so troublesome. Luhan rubbed his nose and looked at Tsunade. Don't dig it out. Unlucky. It doesn't matter, it's auspicious and unlucky. I haven't heard of anyone who died because of unlucky things, so the grave will not be dug, and the monument will be smashed. It will smash the tombstone. This trick. I created my own. Rasengan. Hokage, Sama said it was A-level ninjutsu. You created your own A-level technique. Tsunade stared at Luhan with wide eyes, a look of disbelief on his face. Don't doubt, I'm a genius. Liar liar, so tugging. Tsunade seemed very unhappy with Luhan's appearance. She frowned fiercely, and the name above her head quickly changed from orange to Yuhi. Come and learn. Chapter 0223 _ Avoid bloodshed. Big Yuhi named Tsunade. Hokage is directly under the Free Quest Ninja. Level 50 Gold Boss, Tsunade. Luhan finally saw Tsunade's strength rating. At only 21 years old, her strength is already no weaker than Munashi Kiichi, the strongest among the 7 members of the Misty Ninja Sword. Munashi Oni 7 and Zhongheim are both level 50 gold bosses. But they are all middle-aged and have little growth potential. If there is no adventure in the future, it is difficult for them to improve their strength. Zhongheim is at least 10 years older than Tsunade, and Munashi Kiichi is 10 years older than Tsunade, maybe even 20 years. So in terms of ninja talent, they are absolutely incomparable to Tsunade. If Tsunade is 30, he doesn't even need 30, 25. She should have the strength to crush Munashi Onigiri and Akira Haim. After all, he is only in his early 20s, and his growth potential is still great. Terrible talent. Tsunade's talent is not necessarily worse than Hitaki Tsukumo. The reason why she is not as strong as Hitaki Tsukumo is because she is a medical ninja and because Hitaki Tsukumo is a few years older than her. Let's learn from each other. In the dim forest, Luhan looked at Tsunade with a frightened look. What if you hurt me? Are you afraid? Well, I'm afraid. Luhan confessed directly, but he wasn't afraid. He just didn't want to find guilt. It was true that Tsunade could hurt him. The rules ruled that Tsunade was named Yuhi, which meant that Tsunade was likely to miss Luhan during the discussion. Her strength is far from that of Sarutobi Hiruzen. She doesn't have the ability to control the situation like Sarutobi Hiruzen. In terms of talent, she is not as good as Sarutobi Hiruzen, but Sarutobi Hiruzen became Hokage in her 20s. Another point is very important. Tsunade, as Konoha's famous mania patient, is really no big deal when discussing with others. It's not to say how cruel she is, and she doesn't care about the life and death of the people she consults. She is very kind, but she can really hurt people because she is a medical ninja. If it is broken, I will treat it for you. Don't worry, it won't kill you. This is the logic of Tsunade's competition with people. If Luhan really competes with Tsunade, he may not necessarily lose, because Tsunade is not a ninja who is good at fighting, but Luhan doesn't need to come to the truth with Tsunade at all. So Luhan confessed. It's not a shame to admit to Tsunade. Blood incident was successfully avoided. When night fell, the two left the back mountain together. Night, Tsunade's home. The hot food was already on the table. Tsunade sat at the table with a bad expression on his face, biting kiba and gnashing his teeth for a while and muttered, "Bastard kid, who else is there to come here? Why bring some inexplicable people here? What a bastard." Quote. Call. 2 whirlwinds suddenly rolled up, and Luhan and the little girl in a beautiful dress appeared not far before the wood collapsed. Master Tsunade. Uchiha Makoto saw Tsunade kneeling at the table and immediately bowed in greeting. "Well, let's have dinner." Tsunade nodded with a smile. "Look, I said, Mr. Tsunade will definitely welcome Makoto. Makoto is so cute." Luhan said with a smile, and climbed the wooden collapse with Makoto. Makoto knelt on the opposite side of Tsunade. Luhan sat cross-legged. Tsunade's sensei heard that Makoto was coming, so she made some extra meals. Hearing Luhan's words, Tsunade's mouth trembled unnaturally. The sumptuous dinner was obviously prepared for Luhan to catch the wind. "Thank you Tsunade-sama." Makoto immediately bowed his head. Tsunade's mouth trembled again, and then he smiled and said, "Don't be so polite, since you are Han's friend, you are not an outsider, come here." Eating and eating, the dishes will be cold. Dinner was spent in a relaxed and pleasant atmosphere. Makoto is well-bred, very polite, every mouthful of Tsunade-sama, always salutes, and has a sweet mouth. Although Tsunade doesn't like Luhan bringing other people over for dinner, he doesn't feel bad about Makoto. That night, Uchiha Makoto also stayed at Tsunade's house. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, 3 days later, Anbu was stationed. At noon, in the cave cafeteria. Master Wanfang, this time. When you become the acting captain, can you adjust my daily tasks? It's too boring to monitor the village. I want to go outside to perform tasks. It is best to go to the land of rain. Hanzo of the Salamander dared to rob Captain White Fang, Although I am not his opponent. But I will not make him a Megakure village any better. Hanzo of the Salamander really damn. Master Wanfang, I also want to go to the land of rain, and I have to let a Megakure village know that we, Konoha Anbu, are not easy to mess with. On the north side of the cave canteen, next to the wooden table near the dining hall, several ninjas surrounded Uchiha Bai. All of them were powerful elite jonin. Bai will be the acting captain. Has spread that Uchiha Bai competes with Hyuga Bonin for the role of acting captain. Most Anbu ninjas are optimistic about Uchiha Bai because he is stronger. Has the terrifying demonic illusion ability. However, Hyuga Bonin's Byakugan has been developed to a very high level, and his abilities are more suitable for Anbu's outing tasks, and his ability to track and anti-track is even better than Anbu's, so there are still people who are optimistic about Hyuga Bonin. On the table against the wall on the south side of the cave dining hall, there were also several elite jonin gathered beside Hyuga Bonin, but they didn't talk about anything, but looked at the north side frequently, sometimes showing a look of resentment or contempt. Konoha Anbu is always united in the face of the enemy, but there are also various problems within Anbu. Many of the ninjas who can be selected into Anbu are talented and arrogant. There are some minor conflicts that are inevitable. The reason why Captain Anbu is important is also for this reason. Those who can be captains must be able to hold their own. During lunch, the cave cafeteria suddenly became eerily quiet. In fact, some ninjas suddenly became quiet first, while other ninjas did not know what happened, so they also became quiet and looked up. Lord Cold Light. All over the cave cafeteria, more than 20 Anbu ninjas stood up at the same time, looking at the entrance of the passage and greeting in unison. Chapter-221-240 Hokage summons _. The cave cafeteria became very quiet. Almost everyone looked towards the entrance. Hyuga Bonin looked at him with interest, as if he had seen something very interesting. Uchiha Bai frowned subconsciously and swept his surroundings. The more than 20 ninjas who stood up, without exception, were all ninjas who had followed Han Guang on missions in the Land of Water. An astonishing scene. It is a bit unbelievable to be able to convince the public with just one mission. Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen and Hokage Assistant Danzo. The details of Luhan's mission in the Land of Water are only known to the Anbu captain Hitaki Sakumo, who was recuperating from injuries, and it was Sarutobi Hiruzen who told him. Luhan has only returned to Konoha for 3 days. Sarutobi Hiruzen has not announced his plans for his mission in the Land of Water. This is also the first time Luhan has come to the Anbu station in 3 days. He went to see Hitaki Sakumo in the morning and came here at noon. For dinner, Luhan had been accompanying Tsunade for the past few days. Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru have gone to the country of Vortex today to carry out a mission. Luhan hurriedly entered the cave dining hall. Seeing the ninjas standing up to say hello, he quickly raised his hand to signal. Those ninjas sat down, and he went directly to the table in the corner of the cave. Captain Anbu was the assistant, and Hokage's son, Sarutobi Shuen sat there alone. You kid, don't tell me to come back and see me. It's not a meeting anymore. Don't say that. If Tsunade-sensei hears, she will beat someone. What? She looked at me like a prisoner. If it wasn't for her going in and out on a mission, I wouldn't be here. Luhan sat opposite Sarutobi Shuen and chatted with Sarutobi Shuen. The two were already very familiar with each other, but what Luhan said was half-truth and half-truth. He just felt too tired, so he rested at Tsunade's house. After a few days, Tsunade left Konoha today, and no one cooked for Luhan, so Luhan came to Anbu. The cave cafeteria quickly returned to its previous state. The elite jonin around Uchiha Bai was still talking about what happened after Uchiha Bai became the acting captain. Perhaps it was not just a chat, but also a statement. Those who said those words in public were naturally ninjas who were very close to Uchiha Shirogane. When Luhan went to pick up the meal, he listened to the words of Jonin, the elite beside Uchiha Bai, returned to the corner table again, and talked with Sarutobi Yushuin in a low voice. I heard that Wanfeng and Bailey are going to compete for the position of acting captain. Miss Tsunade told you. Well, I just went to see Captain White Fang, and he said it too. It is estimated that in a few days, Lord Danzo will be solely responsible for the selection, alas. What sigh? Luhan raised his eyes and looked at Sarutobi Yushuin. It's a pity Uncle Shiwan, if it weren't for the accident in the country of Vortex, the position of acting captain should be his. Sarutobi Yushuin shook his head with a sigh. Well, it's a pity. Luhan nodded. Senju Hiruzen ranks first in the squad leader. No matter in terms of qualifications, experience, or strength, other squad leaders are not as good as him. He was born in the Senju family and is absolutely loyal to Sarutobi Hiruzen. But half a year ago, Uzumaki Jinghai betrayed the cold light information, which implicated him. In fact, he was very innocent, but he was the captain of Konoha Anbu who was stationed in Uzushiogakure village all the year round. Lunch with Sarutobi Yushuin, Luhan returned to his cave room in Anbu in the afternoon. Anbu Ninja sent a lot of information scrolls to Luhan. It is all the important information Anbu has detected in the past 6 months. It involves all the countries in the ninja world. In the past 6 months, the ninja world has been turbulent, and too many things have happened. Captain Anbu, it is necessary for Luhan to understand this information as much as possible. In the blink of an eye, 2 more days have passed. This morning, Luhan still stayed in the room to read the information. The knock on the door suddenly sounded, and there was an eager voice from outside the door. Lord Hengguang, come out and have a look. Huh. Luhan looked back and appeared outside the door in a flash. In the passageway of the grotto outside the door, there is Kato Crack. What's wrong? Luhan raised his eyebrows. Looking at Kato's cracked expression, it seemed that there was no emergency. His face was not anxious, but a little excited. Go to the square, Lord Wanfeng and Lord Bailey are fighting. Kato Kai said quickly. Oh, Luhan suddenly became interested. In the cave square in the center of the Anbu station, when Luhan and Kato arrived, 40 or 50 Anbu ninjas had already gathered in the square. They formed a large circle around the sparring area. Because the sparring area was huge, dozens of Anbu ninjas had gathered in the square. People can't surround the site, people seem to be few and scattered, and naturally it will not be crowded. What Kato said was a fight. In fact, he meant to learn from each other. On the field, Hyuga Bonin and Uchiha Bai have already started a fierce confrontation. Hyuga's Byakugan and Gentle Fist against Uchiha's Sharingan and Kaden Fire-style ninjutsu. Because the field is large enough, there is no need to worry about the aftermath of the attack hurting people outside the field. The two are just chatting. Competing is different from a duel. If you rely on combat strength to select the acting captain, that kind of contest can be regarded as a duel. It can even be said to be a life and death fight, and you can use all the means. And if it's just a discussion, Hyuga Bonin won't use the Gentle Fist attack lore technique, and Uchiha Bai won't use the S-level technique. There are reservations, it is enough to be able to distinguish the winner. The two was quite exciting. Bai was good at attacking, Bonin was good at defending, and they fought back and forth. But Luhan felt bored after watching it for a while. These two were not his opponents. They stood by Luhan. From a point of view, there is nothing to call it wonderful. Lord Hengguang, Lord Hokage summoned. A cold voice suddenly sounded behind Luhan. Luhan looked back and saw that it was an Anbu ninja who also wore a mask at the Anbu station. Antique room. Luhan entered the door, saw Sarutobi Hiruzen sitting on the wooden floor with a teacup and tray, and greeted respectfully, Master Hokage. I plan to appoint you as the acting captain of Anbu. Sarutobi Hiruzen put down his teacup and said straight to the point, until White Fang recovers, you will take full charge of Anbu's affairs. Chapter 0225-Acting Captain. Cold. Captain acting. Me. Luhan was taken aback for a moment, and then he was ecstatic. One step to the sky. Pies fall from the sky. For a while, Luhan didn't know how to describe the situation at this time, because Hotake Sakumo didn't mention to Luhan that Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted him to be the acting captain, so Luhan was not mentally prepared, and he had high hopes for this before. His previous plan was to rely on merit for promotion, and when his strength reached a certain height, he would use enough Anbu merit to challenge the position of Captain Anbu. That is to challenge Hotake Sakumo. Luhan knew that he was too young and did not have enough qualifications. Although he had already made some achievements, his strength was not outstanding in Anbu. The possibility of being directly appointed as the captain by Hokage was extremely low. Age and qualifications were the main reasons. In Anbu, seniority is very important. Compared with ninjas who have entered Anbu for 10 years, even if they have the same strength, their status is different, because seniority usually represents mission experience. Just like Shimura Fire Storage. His strength is in the middle and lower reaches of Anbu's elite Jonin. In terms of strength alone, he is not as good as Mito Jing, but he can be the team leader. It's because he has enough qualifications. He had joined Anbu during the First Ninja War. Although he is the captain of Anbu, the most important thing is his ability. But if you want Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen to recognize your ability, it doesn't happen overnight. At the beginning, Hotake Sakumo was not directly appointed by Sarutobi Hiruzen as the captain of Anbu. He was promoted very quickly in Anbu. It was all by his own efforts. He completed difficult tasks, established merits, and finally challenged the position of Captain Anbu and succeeded. The road to promotion that Luhan is going to take is exactly the road that Hotake Sakumo took before. But I didn't expect to be directly appointed as the acting captain of Anbu. Although it is only the acting captain, the position of acting captain will be cancelled when Hotake Sakumo recovers from his injury, but with his resume as acting captain, his identity in Anbu will be very different in the future. If one day Hotake Sakumo is transferred for some reason Anbu, then the ninja who served as the acting captain in Anbu is likely to officially become the captain of Anbu. But for Luhan, the more important thing is, by becoming the acting captain of Anbu, it is very likely that you will have direct access to those Konoha forbidden techniques and secret techniques. This is what Luhan wants the most. Next, Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly raised his hand, took out a scroll from nowhere, and threw it at Luhan. Luhan caught the scroll and opened it under Sarutobi Hiruzen's signal. It is an urgent piece of information, involving a lot of complex investigation information. In short, it is that a day ago, a Konoha scout ninja found a large number of Kurigakure ninja traces in the eastern coastal area of the country of Vortex, which is suspected to be the vanguard brigade of the main battle legion in the village of Kurigakure. Another Konoha Anbu ninja found a ninja army in the southwest of the country of Vortex and the southeast border of the country of Fire, and its affiliation is unknown. Luhan's face changed greatly, and he looked up at Sarutobi Hiruzen. The information just sent this morning. The war in the country of the Vortex may start at any time. Sarutobi Hiruzen's voice was low. Once the war in the country of the Vortex develops to a certain extent, the forces of the ninja villages and countries in the entire ninja world will be able to restrain each other. Unbalanced, then, a big war will inevitably break out. Lord Hokage means? Luhan asked. Anbu is not a frontal combat unit. Sarutobi Hiruzen continued. I have ordered all Anbu ninjas operating in the south to withdraw, and the task of monitoring the movements of all parties will be transferred to the regular scout team to perform, for at most half a month, including in the rain. The Anbu ninjas at the border of the country will also be withdrawn to Konoha one after another. Quote, I appointed you as the acting captain of Anbu, and I need you to formulate a detailed plan for guarding Konoha village in the near future. You have the right to mobilize all Anbu ninjas left in Konoha village. If necessary, you can discuss with White Fang about the development regarding the plan, although White Fang is recuperating from injuries, his mind is fine, you should listen to his advice more. In 2 more months at the most, I will announce that Konoha will enter a truce period and stop all foreign trade activities. At that time, Konoha will be completely blocked and enter the primary combat readiness stage. Sarutobi Hiruzen paused for a while, and then continued majestically, you only have 2 months. You have to use your abilities to make a perfect plan in these 2 months, not only to capture the foreign spies who have infiltrated Konoha, but also to prevent them as much as possible. New spies enter Konoha. I hope Konoha can return to the mystery before the war, understand? Yes, Lord Hokage. Luhan immediately agreed. Understood. Luhan already understood before Sarutobi Hiruzen finished speaking. Why did Sarutobi Hiruzen choose him? Luhan's previous dazzling performance was only one aspect, which made Sarutobi Hiruzen consider letting Luhan serve as the acting captain of Anbu, just thinking about it. And what really made Sarutobi Hiruzen make up his mind and let him confirm that the main reason for choosing Luhan as the acting captain of Anbu is because Luhan has shown a supernatural cleaning ability. Clean the spies. Luhan once said that he knew everyone in Konoha village. He has reported a large number of foreign spies to the village, and he can easily find out who has a problem. He can disguise and discover who is disguising. This is very, very important for Konoha at this stage. The latest information from the country of the vortex makes Sarutobi Hiruzen realize that he can't wait any longer. Konoha must do something. So he directly appointed Luhan as the acting captain of Anbu, and he wanted Luhan to cleanse Konoha. All outsiders who will pose a threat to Konoha, kill if they can, and catch if they can. This is pre-war preparation. This is for you. Sarutobi Hiruzen took out a black scroll from his arms and put it on the table. The scroll is a forbidden technique practice method. The difficulty is S level. For my teacher, the 2nd generation Hokage Senju Tobarama created. I'm not sure if you can learn it, but you should try it. This scroll can only be unsealed with a specific seal, and now I will teach you the seal. Remember, this scroll will be unsealed an hour later. Self-destruction. You must remember all the contents of the scroll carefully, and do not spread it. Quote. Chapter 0226 Forbidden Technique by Senju Tobarama. The S-class art created by Senju Tobarama. Which one will it be? First of all, impure world reincarnation can be excluded. Impure world reincarnation is too evil, and it needs to use a living person as a Matsuri item to perform. Sarutobi Hiruzen will never allow Konoha ninjas to practice, except for impure world reincarnation. Senju Tobarama is unparalleled. He is a genius. He has created too many jutsus. He has created no less than 10 kinds of ninjutsu in S-level Sweden, water style alone. Luhan can't estimate which one Sarutobi Hiruzen came up with, but he desperately hopes it was that technique. That technique he wanted most. Suppressing the excitement in his heart, Luhan and Sarutobi Hiruzen learned the seal of unsealing, then took the black scroll from the table and threw it directly into the space backpack. He only had 1 hour of memory time, and he had to memorize all the contents of the scroll, so he had to be well prepared in advance. As for my appointment to you, I will personally go to the Anbu station to announce later this afternoon that you should keep quiet when you go back. Sarutobi Hiruzen urged again. Also, regarding the practice of the forbidden technique, you need to put your heart and soul into it. Study hard, but don't waste a lot of energy on it. Can't you force it to understand? Lord Hokage, how long do you think I can master this forbidden technique? Luhan asked. It's as short as a year or 2. Sarutobi Hiruzen paused and said, it's more than 10 years. You may not even be able to learn it. It depends on your understanding. Don't be impatient. You are still young. Even in 10 years, you will not be able to learn. Still young. It's nothing to be ashamed of when you can't give up. My subordinate understands. Well, let's go. Be careful about protecting the Konoha plan. That's the top priority in the short term. Yes. Not long after Luhan left, it was still an antique room. Call. A figure appeared out of thin air, tall and cold, but it was Danzo. Hiruzen, you're looking for me, Danzo said. Two things. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked serious. Sir Hokage, please. Danzo immediately became serious. He understood that Sarutobi Hiruzen was not talking to him as a confidant or friend, but as Hokage, the leader of Konoha. First, given the recent situation, I will block Konoha in 2 months. Konoha will enter the primary combat readiness stage. Before that, Anbu will conduct a large-scale purge of the village, which may require root, if necessary. In cooperation, you will recall as many root ninjas as possible to Konoha who are active in the near future. Quote. Yes, Lord Hokage. Second, I have appointed Han Guang as the acting captain of Anbu. When the time comes, Konoha's cleaning plan will be formulated and implemented by him. You can stop the selection of the acting captain. I will go to the Anbu station in the afternoon to announce this in person. Thing. Quote. Yes. Danzo's expression changed drastically, but he could only answer. When it comes to what Anbu and Hokage have decided, he can't object. Anbu resident, learn from the field. Damn it. Hyuga Benin knelt down on one knee, resting on the ground with one hand, panting violently, bleeding from the corners of his mouth, looking up at Uchiha Bai who was not far away. Uchiha Bai stood upright, his hands holding the hand seal movement. A pair of 3 Tomo Sharingan was slowly decelerating from full-speed rotation. He did not hide the arrogant color on his face, and the corner of his mouth smiled. Captain Bailey seems to be getting stronger again. Yeah, but it's not yet the opponent of Captain Phantom Front. Captain Magic Front is a few years older. It's really scary. If it wasn't for Captain Bailey owning Byakugan, he might have lost to Captain Magic Front's Sharingan Demonic Illusion. There was a lot of chatter around the venue. Captain Bailey, except, Uchiha Bai said sarcastically. Humph. Hyuga Bonin's hand on the ground suddenly shook, and he stood up instantly with a cold snort, but his face turned a little pale, raised his hand to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth. Hyuga Bonin looked at Uchiha Bai and said, You win. Admit defeat. Have to admit. To lose is to lose. To force the fight again would be self-inflicted humiliation. If you try hard, the taste will change, and it will no longer be learning from each other. There are always winners and losers in the competition, and there will always be someone who will lose. For Anbu, this is quite common. As soon as Hyuga Bonin's voice fell, 2 whirlwinds rolled up behind him, and 2 medical Jonins who specialized in serving Anbu appeared behind Hyuga Bonin and began to heal Hyuga Bonin's injuries. The injury is not serious, and after treatment, you can fully recover after resting for half a day. Sure enough, it seems that in this battle for the acting captain, Master Wanfeng will win. It's not necessarily, it's just a discussion, it's not a life and death fight, and besides, it's not that you don't know the abilities of Lord Bailey. Humph, you are a loyal supporter of Captain Bailey. Just the truth. When Luhan walked out of the passage and entered the cave square, some of the ninjas who had been onlookers had already stepped onto the training ground, and they could hear some arguments, and some people greeted Luhan. Lord Hangguang, why did you suddenly leave just now? Kato Kai ran to Luhan's side. Lord Hokage is looking for me, Luhan said. So, Kato Kai stopped asking. Several well-known Anbu ninjas, Luhan went all the way back to the cave room, closed the door, lighted the aromatherapy, and sat cross-legged on the futon in front of the wall, meditating. 2 full hours later, when it was almost noon, Luhan opened his eyes, took out the black scroll from his space backpack, and placed it on the ground in front of him. Forbidden Technique. The S-level forbidden technique created by the second-generation Hokage Senju Tobarama. Ninja. Solution. Luhan quickly formed a very complicated seal, and then pressed his radiant hand on the black scroll. The black scroll changed rapidly, the black light flashed, and the black on the scroll receded, turning into light blue. Only 1 hour. Luhan quickly picked up the scroll and unfolded it to see that the texture of the scroll was very thin, so it was very long after unfolding. The content is very complicated, including the way of chakra operation, the way of hand seal, and if the advanced level are all recorded in detail, Lu Han's eyes rose with excitement. This is it. The value of the subversive space is so high that until now, Lu Han has not unlocked the forbidden technique that he does not know the specific price. Horizon. Chapter-221 Horizon and the Golden Elixir. The technique of Horizon, the forbidden technique of the S-class space created by the second-generation Hokage Senju Tobirama. A total of 2 stages of Horizon were recorded in Sarutobi Hiruzen's scroll to Lu Han. The initial Horizon, leaving a specific spell on kunai type, instantly teleports to the vicinity of kunai with Horizon spell. Horizon Stage 2. Move directly to the Horizon spell. To put it simply, the ability of the second stage is the initial advanced ability, which can also be said to be an improvement in control, which can make the position of the ninja who cast Horizon more precise. The difficulty of practicing Horizon is S level. After Master Horizon, it was upgraded to the second rank. The difficulty of this improvement is no less than that of practicing an A-level ninjutsu. There is a lot of content in the scroll, and in an hour, people can seriously read it back and forth several times, and barely memorize it. If you have a good understanding, you will naturally be able to remember it completely. If you have a poor understanding, you can't remember, or you forget some details, then you don't need to cultivate in the future. Understand more when he first practiced Horizon. Golden Elixir. After the subversive uses it, within 24 hours, the practice experience will be increased tenfold. A potion that must be dropped by killing the golden title boss. The drop rate is 100%, and only 1 bottle can be dropped at a time. In the 10 months since he came to the world, Lu Han has killed 67 golden bosses. 67 bottles of golden potions, which he had never used before. He is waiting for this day. He will not waste the golden potion in his daily practice. Only when he is practicing some powerful spells or some kind of powerful ability will he use the golden potion. 10 times the practice experience. The 1-day practice experience after using the golden potion is equivalent to 10 days of normal practice. Under the condition of using the golden potion, Lu Han practiced Horizon for 1 hour, which is equivalent to 10 hours under normal conditions. There is another point to consider, that is, no ninja can practice continuous practice in the true sense, continuous practice for a month, sleep, eat, and occasionally deal with small chores, all of which take time. Even if a ninja is in retreat, the average daily practice time is 15 to 16 hours. In this way, if Lu Han practiced for 24 hours in a row and used the golden potion, his comprehension and experience should be equivalent to that of other ninjas in half a month of retreat and practice. In fact, Lu Han is using the golden potion now, which is a little waste. Because Lu Han is not in a closed state, he may have something to do at any time, not to mention other things. Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen came to Anbu Station in the afternoon. He must go out, the effect of the potion will not be suspended, he is in the state of using the golden potion. Waste. However, it doesn't matter if you practice Horizon for the first time is very important. At noon, Lu Han didn't go out for lunch. After the scroll self-destructed, he had memorized the information on how to practice and cast Horizon in his heart, and continued to comprehend. At dusk, Anbu Station Cave Plaza. On the stone platform on the north side of the square, Sarutobi Hiruzen stands with his hands behind his back, with Hatake Sakumo in a wheelchair on his right and Danzo on his left. Strictly speaking, the roots, controlled by Danzo are also part of Anbu, so Danzo is also a member of Anbu's system, and he must be present today. Lord Hokage is here. Is there something important to announce? Could it be that Lord Hokage will personally announce the task of running for the acting captain? Anbu ninjas in the station were notified, including non-combat members, and they all rushed to the stone platform in the cave square. Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression was serious, and some young ninjas who had joined Anbu for a few years showed a fanatical look towards Sarutobi Hiruzen. Not long after, more than 100 Anbu ninjas gathered in the audience, and the fighting members accounted for the majority, and these hundreds of ninjas were not all members of Anbu. Some Anbu ninjas were still performing tasks outside at this time and did not return to Konoha. The total number of Anbu ninjas should be equivalent to a brigade, including non-combat members, no more than 200 people at most. Konoha has more than 10,000 ninjas, and they are only a very small number, because the nature of their tasks covers too wide, it is too special, so it is difficult for them to get together completely except for special periods. Silence. After all the ninjas at the station arrived, there was no sound. Regarding the mission of the Kingdom of Water to hunt down missing nin some time ago, Sarutobi Hiruzen said solemnly, and glanced at the Anbu ninja below, Uchiha Gumu betrayed Konoha, and his crime should be punished. The country's eradication of missing nin not only successfully eradicated Uchiha Gumu, but also eliminated the bad influence of Uchiha Gumu's betrayal, and also killed Captain Kurigakure Anbu's blood fog during the mission, which is a dazzling performance and deserves a reward. Quote. More than 100 Anbu ninjas lined up, and someone turned to look at Luhan, who was standing at the front, side by side with the other squad leaders. Wouldn't it be a commendation meeting? Hokage came to recognize the award in person. This honor is the envy of other Anbu ninjas. As for Luhan's killing of Captain Kurigakure Anbu, it was rumored as early as in Konoha Anbu that he killed him after being poisoned by the blood mist. At this time, Sarutobi Hiruzen said it again, but it did not arouse surprise. Cold light. Sarutobi Hiruzen paused, then continued. First kill the flying ninja team in the country of Vortex, then complete the mission of eradicating missing nin in the country of Water, and kill the leader of Kurigakure Anbu, and then return to the number of Konoha. In 1 month, he killed Ringo Hiwa and Yuma Ankora, a member of the 7 Ninja Swordsmen of Mist, and brought back a lot of important information about the land of water for Konoha, which is a great achievement. What? Everyone looked at Luhan. He killed the 7 members of the Ninja Sword of Mist. 2. For this reason, I declare. Sarutobi Hiruzen's voice was heavy. Chapter 0228-Luhan who is afraid of trouble. Appoint Han Guang as the acting captain of the Konoha Assassination Tactics Special Forces. Sarutobi Hiruzen solemnly announced, the term of office is uncertain, until the day when he and White Fang recover from their injuries and can be reappointed. While Han Guang is the acting captain of Anbu, White Fang still has the right to drive Anbu captain. Rights, but the level of rights is lower than that of acting captain Han Guang. If both parties have major disagreements on a certain matter, they can apply to me for a ruling. Quote. Cold light. Acting captain. No, choose. Don't you choose. Hokage-sama directly appointed. The quality of Anbu's members is very high, but at this moment, they couldn't help but let out a low cry. Hyuga Bonin and Uchiha Bai were even more shocked. Looking at Luhan. Lost. Accident. Is it difficult to accept? All kinds of emotions pervade Hyuga Bonin and Uchiha Bai, especially Uchiha Bai, because these days, most Anbu ninjas think that he may become the acting captain. He won Hyuga Bonin in the morning competition, and there are many supporters. This has caused his heart to swell, and he even thought that he must be the acting captain of Anbu. Hyuga Bonin is no match at all. And Han Guang. He used to regard Han Guang as an opponent before. And now, things have become clear. Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen directly appointed Luhan as the acting captain, which caused both Uchiha Bai and Hyuga Bonin to lose the chance to compete for the position of acting captain. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the reactions of the Anbu ninjas below, and said aloud again, is there any objection? No one responded. No one objected. Normally, this is just a routine inquiry by Sarutobi Hiruzen, and what he decides, the possibility of changing it is very low, and secondly, Sarutobi Hiruzen just said that Luhan killed Ringo Hiruzen and Ma Ankang. And he didn't say how he was killed. Therefore, it is difficult for Anbu Zongren to question Luhan from his strength. As for the ability, it is impossible to question, their identities are there, and they can't argue with Sarutobi Hiruzen about Han Guang's strength. Since there is no objection, then this is the decision. Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced and said, Hengwang has taken office today. It's all gone. Sarutobi Hiruzen turned around and said something in a low voice to Danzo after he finished speaking. It disappeared out of thin air. Congratulations, Captain Hengwang. Danzo looked at Lu Han and said, then glanced at White Fang in the wheelchair, and disappeared on the stage as soon as he turned around. Han Guang becomes the acting captain. This matter sparked a big discussion. After Lu Han returned to his room, the discussion about him became even more heated. There were those who agreed with him, those who said it didn't matter, and naturally there were also objections. Just after Lu Han left the cave plaza, in the rest area in the southwest corner of the cave plaza, Hyuga Benin and Uchiha Baiyi sat together. There was no one else around. The cave plaza was very large. Will appear very far away. Hengwang, Lord Hokage's decision is really unexpected. Hyuga Bonin smiled wryly. Do you agree? Uchiha Baiyi tilted his head to look at Bonin Hyuga. Lord Hokage's decision. Hyuga Bonin paused, there must be his reasons. Uchiha was silent in the White Knight. What about you? Hyuga Bonin gave Uchiha Baiyi a look. Uchiha Baiyi remained silent, squinting slightly, before getting up for a while and said, maybe. Perhaps. Hyuga Bonin looked at the back of Uchiha Baiyi walking away, and muttered to himself, his eyes flashing light. He and Uchiha Baiyi have always been in competition and their relationship is very unfriendly. They have not risen to the level of enemies. They do not hate each other. After all, they are both Anbu's team captains. To be able to sit in this position in Anbu, loyalty and belief are both it is consistent. It can even be said that Uchiha Baiyi is more loyal than Hyuga Bonin. Because he is from the Uchiha tribe. He wanted to get into Anbu, and went through much stricter scrutiny than the Hyuga ninja. Hyuga Bonin is very clear that his strength is not as good as Uchiha Baiyi, and he knows better that Uchiha Baiyi has established enough merits in Anbu, so much that he is only a little short of challenging the position of Anbu captain. If it was replaced before, when White Fang was not injured, Uchiha Baiyi would definitely not have the intention to challenge the position of captain, because White Fang is too strong, so strong that people can only look up. But now, with Han Guang temporarily serving as the captain, will he find a way to collect enough merits and then challenge? Huan Feng, Hyuga Bonin suddenly called out. Uchiha Baiyi, who was not far away, stopped and turned his head slightly. Maybe you should trust Lord Hokage so that Lord Hokage can trust you more. Hyuga Bonin said cryptically. Uchiha Baiyi didn't respond, he stopped and thought for a moment, then strode away. In the blink of an eye, 10 days later, Konoha Anbu Station, command room. Your plan, is it too dependent on your personal ability? In the wheelchair, Hitaki Sakumo put down the plan scroll he just finished reading and looked up at Lu Han behind the desk. You will be very tired in this case. Master Hokage's requirements are too high, so. Lu Han smiled. In this way, if something goes wrong, you will have to take more responsibility. Hitaki Sakumo said very bluntly. His pale face frowned slightly. You have to understand that as a captain, the more important thing is to use people. All right, Mr. White Fang, why are you nagging more than Mr. Tsunade? Besides, I'm just sitting in this position temporarily. Lu Han continued, when your injury is healed, you will be the only captain. Hitaki Sakumo smiled helplessly. He taught Lu Han a lot these days, and he also learned that Lu Han is the kind of person who is afraid of troublesome people and can easily solve things he doesn't ask his subordinates to do. By the way, I went to see Lord Hokage this morning. He has the idea of recruiting new recruits into Anbu, with a small-scale expansion to make up for the loss of Anbu personnel in the past year or two. Hitaki Sakumo looked at Lu Han. Lord Hokage asked me to discuss with you. Do you have any ideas? Or, are there any candidates? Selecting a new person to enter Anbu. It doesn't seem to be particularly worthwhile. Lu Han said while thinking, suddenly paused, and then said, right. There is one person. I think it's okay. Chapter-221-240 Did you choose her? He is rather special, he has some strength, and I think he has great potential. Anbu can provide him with enough resources. Luhan said and nodded, feeling that his idea was very reliable. You mean? Hatake Sakumo asked. You know, Luhan bought a pass. Who? Might die. A die. Yes, it's him. Hatake Sakumo looked hesitant and frowned before he said, you must know that since the establishment of Konoha, no Konoha ninja has successfully cultivated the 8 inner gates, and he has practiced the 8 inner gates 10 times. A few years, but in terms of strength. Can I compete with Jonin in the short term? Hatake Sakumo was not sure, then paused and said, I almost went the wrong way back then, but fortunately, I didn't stubbornly go on. You know the 8 inner gates? Luhan raised his brows and asked. He remembered that Hatake Kakashi, the son of Hatake Sakumo in the original book, had practiced taijutsu. Kakashi became a special jonin at the age of 12, and he relied on his taijutsu skills. This is also Kakashi. The reason for the lack of chakra is that he wasted too much time on physical exercises. From the information revealed in the original work, Hatake Sakumo should be rare, combining taijutsu and ninjutsu to have a powerful ninja, the swordsmanship of the Hatake family, but the roost of Konoha. I learned it. Not only I learned it. Many ninjas have tried to practice the 8 inner gates, all the time, all at a young age, but except for Adai, everyone else gave up, including me. Hatake Sakumo shook his head, smiled slightly. I can open a door. For me now, that is no longer an ability. You dislike Might Die. After all, there is no precedent for success, and he is already over 20 years old, past the age with the best potential. It's possible to accumulate a lot of money. The 8 inner gates, but as long as you open one more gate, your strength will skyrocket. There are only 8 gates in total. Hatake Sakumo pursed his lips and smiled and looked at Luhan. He didn't want to argue with Luhan. After a short pause, he said, you decide. Then it's settled. Luhan quickly tapped his fingers on the table. In view of Might Dai's special situation, I will explain the situation to Lord Hokage. No, it's your right. It's just a matter of recruiting someone into Anbu. As long as there is no problem with loyalty, Lord Hokage will have no objection. Hatake Sakumo said. Okay. Luhan crooked the corners of his mouth and stood up suddenly. I will name Might Dai, and leave the rest to Lord Whitefang. I will go to retreat. I will invite you to dinner when I leave the customs. Goodbye. Luhan after speaking quickly, he squeezed the print with one hand and disappeared directly into the room. Hatake Sakumo was stunned, then raised his hand and touched his forehead, as if worried that he would have a fever, and scolded in a low voice, Bastard kid. I don't understand the patient at all. So helpless. Han Guang has been the acting captain for 10 days. But he doesn't care at all. Retreat at every turn, for 24 hours at a time, and then sleep for 12 hours. And in the past 10 days, Han Guang has retreated 4 times. Apart from making plans to protect Konoha, he's never done anything serious. Both Hatake Sakumo and Sarutobi Yushuin are in charge. Fortunately, there are no major tasks or important situations in the near future, otherwise Hatake Sakumo would not be able to handle it at all. Hatake Sakumo is about to hold grudges against Luhan, and he has never seen such an irresponsible captain. If someone else is replaced as the acting captain, he will definitely make a big move immediately to initially establish his prestige among Anbu's public ninjas, and establish the foundation for officially taking over the position of captain or challenging the position of captain in the future. Luhan. Hatake Sakumo is really helpless. Time passed quickly. In a blink of an eye, it was another 5 days. Selected for Anbu has been confirmed and approved by Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen in the morning. This time, there are 9 ninjas selected for Anbu. 8 men and 1 woman are all young ninjas from Konoha, and the worst is Jonin. These 9 ninjas have all gone through strict scrutiny. Except for Might Dai, everyone else meets the criteria for entering Anbu, but Since Might Dai was nominated by Luhan to enter Anbu, he also passed Hokage's approval, so no special assessment is required. 9 a.m., Anbu Station. In the dimly lit cave, the brazier placed in the corner of the wall was burning brightly. The 9 newcomers lined up in the cave, all with serious expressions, standing there motionless. The tall Might Dai and the only female ninja looked a bit dazzling. Not far in front of the 9 people, Hatake Sakumo was sitting in a wheelchair in a black robe. Behind him were 4 Anbu ninjas in black robes and masks, and beside Hatake Sakumo was Sarutobi Yushuin. The captain and the captain's assistants are all there, and it is natural to review the newcomers. In fact, they have already checked. Hatake Sakumo was wearing a mask before, and now he has taken it off, but this is not over. Because the acting captain is not here. I've been waiting for him for half an hour and still no one is there. The atmosphere in the cave was a little weird. Hatake Sakumo stopped talking for a long time, just waited. Captain, why don't I go take a look? Sarutobi Yushuin couldn't help but tilted his head and whispered. Wait, it will come, didn't you tell him an hour ago? Hatake Sakumo whispered back, he is a very patient person, and he also knows that Han will not even say hello for no reason. If you are late for a fight, considering the successive retreats in the cold period, it is very likely that you have learned something in your practice, or you feel that you are about to realize it. If this is the case, it is naturally not good to disturb it rashly. Just wait, it will come naturally. Another full hour passed. 10 o'clock in the morning. Call. The whirlwind rolled up beside the wheelchair, and a figure wearing a black robe and a mask appeared out of thin air. Lord Cold Light. 4 ninjas behind the wheelchair knelt down on one knee to greet him respectfully, and Sarutobi Yushuin also bowed to greet him. Seeing this scene, the 9 Anbu rookies also knelt down on one knee and shouted, "See Lord Hengguang." Yeah, Luhan responded and raised his hand to signal everyone to stand up. The 9 newcomers stood up. Luhan stepped forward, stopped abruptly just after taking a step, stared at the only female ninja with fixed eyes, raised his hand and pointed back to Hatake Sakumo and asked hoarsely, "Did you choose her?" That female ninja, Hyuga Luo Ning. Chapter-221 Anbu Female Ninja. You have something to do recently, and I don't have much energy to personally review and select, so I let each team leader recommend suitable candidates, and then Yushuin will review, I will review, and finally I will determine the list and submit it to Lord Hokage for final approval. Hatake Sakumo seemed very tired, raised his hand and squeezed his eyebrows and said, then raised his eyes to look at Luhan. She was recommended by Captain Bailey. Luhan glanced at Hyuga Luo Ning again, then looked at Hatake Sakumo and asked hoarsely, what's her strength? Jonin. Well, you should know her. Although she is a girl, she is one of the most talented geniuses in Hyuga's family. It is not an exaggeration to say that she is a beautiful girl. She is only 14 years old this year, and her strength has grown by leaps and bounds in the past year. Graduated from ninja school years ago, passed the Chunin exam 9 months ago, and became an elite Chunin 4 months ago. Quote. Last month, she found and killed Kurigakure Jonin during her mission on the southeastern border of the Fire Nation. Then she led the team to escape the pursuit of the Kurigakure Ninja Squadron and sent the information back to Konoha. The current level has been confirmed as Jonin. Hatake Sakumo reviewed it, so what he said was clear. Glancing at Hyuga Luo Ning, he looked at Luhan again and said, she should be in the growth stage with the highest potential now. After entering Anbu, she should have great growth in the short term. Age is not a problem, right? Of course age is not a problem. Luhan immediately replied. He understood that Hatake Sakumo's sentence, age is not a problem, was actually referring to him. Luhan looked at Hyuga Luo Ning again. If you think there is a problem, you can let her go and explain the situation to Hokage-sama at that time. Hatake Sakumo added. A total of 9 newcomers. At this time, the other 8 newcomers have already turned their eyes to Hyuga Luo Ning. They naturally know the genius lady of the Hyuga family, and 2 of them have already shown some gloating eyes. By the age of 20, they all belong to a small clan. A small clan that has a close relationship with the Uchiha family, but not the Hyuga family. An absolute honor to be elected to Anbu at the age of 14. Worth touting. But, if he just entered Anbu, he would be denied and kicked out by the acting captain. I don't know if the eldest lady of the Hyuga family can withstand such a blow. The cave was silent for a while. Luhan looked at the 9 newcomers, and his eyes frequently fell on Hyuga Luoning. This was the first time Luhan saw Hyuga Luoning in half a year. Hyuga Luoning is taller than half a year ago, and her appearance is less cute and more beautiful. Hyuga Luoning looked back at Luhan, facing Luhan's sharp eagle eyes through the mask. Hyuga Luoning's expression was firm, and it did not change because of the doubts when Luhan communicated with Hitaki Sakumo before. Luhan walked to Hyuga Luoning slowly, and looked at Hyuga Luoning. Pressure suddenly rushed to Hyuga Luoning. Hyuga Luoning's breathing became a little faster, and immediately returned to normal. Her eyes still did not waver. She knew that the acting captain's code name was Cold Light, and he took over temporarily after the captain White Fang was injured. The captain's strong Anbu, facing such a person, she should be respectful, but her stubborn personality made her unwilling to bow her head. She was unmoved by the previous doubts on the surface, but her heart was unacceptable. What's wrong with being young? What happened to the girl? Why can't it work? Few female ninjas will be selected to enter Anbu. Luhan looked at Hyuga Luoning and said hoarsely, "Do you know why?" "Also please let your lord tell me," Hyuga Luoning said in a crisp voice. "Because what Anbu has to do is very special. There are some outing missions that are not suitable for female ninjas to perform, especially beautiful women, which will cause unnecessary attention and trouble, and when female ninjas perform Anbu missions, in order to complete the task, I have to do some special things, and even need to give up the last shred of dignity as a woman. Do you understand?" Luhan asked again, which was the main reason why he didn't want female ninjas to enter Anbu, not to mention the Hyuga Luoning he knew. Among a special ninja unit like Anbu, female ninjas are pathetic. This is also the reason why there are few female ninjas in Anbu. From the beginning of Anbu's establishment to the present, there are only a handful of female ninjas in Anbu's office during the same period. Every time Anbu recruits new people, he will try his best to avoid choosing female ninjas, men and women, from forbearance. In terms of talent, there is no group difference, but no one can deny the physiological difference. After all, war still relies more on men. My subordinates are willing to go through fire and water for Anbu, Hokage, and Konoha, and die. Hyuga Luoning responded with a much louder voice. "It seems you are determined to join Anbu." "Yes." "Well, good. You said it. There are no cowards in the Hyuga. You did it." After Luhan finished speaking, he turned and walked to the wheelchair. Hyuga Luoning looked resolute, looked at Luhan's back, frowned suddenly, then her face changed, her eyes widened a bit, a lightning flashed through her mind, and her heart set off a storm. There are no cowards in the Hyuga family. No one would say this kind of thing easily, only in specific situations and occasions. Hyuga Luoning remembered that he only said it once. That time she and Hyuga Fungi and Hyuga Teiki were chased and killed by more than 40 foreign ninjas on the way back from completing the mission. She once said this sentence in excitement. At that time, except for Hyuga Teiki and Hyuga Fungi, one more person was present. A very special person to Hyuga Luoning. "It's him." A thunderous self-questioning voice exploded in Hyuga Luoning's ear. Luhan walked to the wheelchair, turned around and stood still, raised his hand and slowly took off his mask, revealing a thin and slightly immature face. "I'm the acting captain Han Guang." Luhan glanced at the 9 newcomers. "Welcome everyone to Anbu." "It's him. It's him. It's really him." Hyuga Luoning was stunned. Not only her, but the other 8 newcomers were also stunned. Cold. They all know Han, of course. So famous. Back then, the kid who offended the Uchiha tribe died. Is he the acting captain of Anbu? Cough. There is a problem. Lu Han suddenly tilted his head sideways and whispered to Hitaki Sakumo, "Can I choose a guard in Anbu?" Chapter 0231-Y. Guards. Hitaki Sakumo glanced at Lu Han strangely. "You mean followers, right? Only ninjas who always ensure the safety of their targets can be called guards. Does Captain Anbu need guards?" "Well, almost." Lu Han nodded. "Yes." Hitaki Sakumo nodded. "It's the equivalent of your daily mission to a ninja." "Okay." Lu Han nodded, then stood up straight and looked at the 9 newcomers. Might Dai has already lost his chin. He is not the kind of person who is good at hiding his emotions. In his life experience, he has not had any learning experience in that area, so his expression is also the best. Exaggerate. Others, in addition to being shocked or shocked, it is impossible for anyone to connect Han Guang and Han before Lu Han takes off his mask. It's too outrageous to even think about it. And he became genin only half a year ago. Acting captain. Or, he has been hiding his strength. Even so, at the age of 13, it was scary enough to be the acting captain of Anbu. "Let's go, let's get familiar with the environment of the station first, You, and you." Lu Han pointed to Hyuga Luoning and Might Dai respectively. "You two, wait for me in the command room after lunch." That's it. After speaking, Lu Han disappeared into the cave with one hand pinching the seal. Back in the room, Lu Han packed his thoughts, sat on the futon in front of the stone wall, waved his hand, and there were hundreds of kunai on the ground around him, forming a small pile. These are all fine-level kunai, and in every kunai, there are Horaishin spells. Invalid spell. In fact, if the hand seal fails, it is impossible to leave a spell on Kuwushang, but Lu Han doesn't know if there is a problem with his own practice, or it is an inevitable process of approaching success. He has been able to leave a spell on Kuwushang. However, all of these spells have problems. Unlike the complete and correct spells, some of these spells are distorted and some are incomplete. Lu Han cannot use these spells to trigger Horaishin's teleportation. In the past half-month, he has gone through 6 retreats, all of them using golden potions, and each 24-hour retreat is equivalent to the normal practice of other ninjas for half a month. 6 times is equivalent to 3 months of normal practice. Such a long time, Lu Han did not let master Horaishin. Not surprisingly, Horaishin's level forbidden technique, if he can master it in 3 months, has already been flooded in Konoha. At this time in Konoha, there are not many people with talents equivalent to Lu Han, but there are definitely not many. Among the tens of thousands of ninjas, there will always be some people who are called geniuses. Lu Han is very patient. He knows that with his talent, it is impossible to achieve Master Horaishin overnight. And once he becomes a master, he may have a qualitative improvement in his current strength. Picking up the kunai with the ineffective spell, Lu Han looked at it carefully, put it down after watching it for a while, picked up another one, and looked at each one carefully. Lu Han was looking for differences, and he was looking for the same. He wanted to find out what was wrong. The afternoon, Anbu command room. Silence. Hyuga Luoning and Might Dai stood at the table, motionless, not speaking. The two also have nothing to communicate, like two people from different worlds, without any common language. Wow! The whirlwind blew up, and Lu Han appeared behind the desk and sat down on the chair. It's all there. Lu Han raised his head and smiled, looking at the expressionless Hyuga Luoning. His heart was shocked, and he looked at the bitter-faced Might Dai again, and paused. Give you 1 everyday tasks, serve as my entourage, that is, follow me if there is something or nothing, understand? Yes, your lord. The two agreed in unison. Adai, what's your expression like? Lu Han raised his eyebrows and looked at Might Dai. Why are you so bitter? Might Dai shook his head for a while and didn't speak. What's the situation? Lu Han asked again. Might Dai still shook his head. Lu Han narrowed his eyes, looked at Might Dai for a while, saw Might Dai harry for a while, and then said, okay, you go out first. Might Dai was relieved, bowed to Lu Han, and strode out. When Might Dai went out and the door closed again, Lu Han looked at Hyuga Luo Ning again, tilted his head and asked, "What's his condition?" "I heard him talk to others during lunch. It seems that he offended Lord Hangguang." Hyuga Luo Ning replied with a very formal look, "It seems that he has quarreled with Lord Hangguang and insulted Lord Hangguang. He seems to be very worried and will being targeted and punished." Quote. Lu Han was stunned for a while, then blinked and recalled, as if there was such a thing. Was that time when Lu Han handed the task commission to Tsunade, but Tsunade didn't give it to Might Dai. Might Dai found Lu Han angrily. That was the last time Lu Han and Might Dai met before Might Dai entered Anbu. Might Dai is really straight, and his brain circuits are different from normal people. This kind of thing is just a few quarrels, and the responsibility is not on Might Dai. Lu Han also understands what Might Dai has to worry about. "Okay, you can go out too, remember, don't talk to anyone about what happened before me." Lu Han thought and waved to Hyuga Luo Ning. Hyuga Luo Ning's heart suddenly felt a bit of loss. She thought that Lu Han would leave her behind and talk about something alone, but she didn't. After receiving the order respectfully, Hyuga Luo Ning retreated. After Hyuga Luo Ning went out, Lu Han looked at the reclosed door, tapped his fingers on the table, and muttered, "Green name. Why did she suddenly become a green name? Why?" The country of the vortex, the eastern forest. The chilling atmosphere spread, so that people subconsciously slowed down their breathing. 23 Kurigakure Jonin surrounded them in a half-moon formation, or kept the hand seal movement, or the horizontal knife in front of them, and looked at the three figures under the tree with indifference. Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru formed a mutual defense formation, all of them looking forward with solemn expressions. 23 Kurigakure Jonin are not scary, what is scary is. The 7 people of the Mist Ninja Sword are also among them. It's 3 big fish. Munashi Guichi smiled with a hint of malice, and slowly raised the big sword in his hand. Go. Chapter 0232-Merchant of Tea Country. Konoha, a downtown street. The carriage was not fast or slow. The old coachman pulled the reins and walked in front of the horse's head. At the door of the carriage sat a middle-aged man in Chinese attire, about 40 years old, with his brows locked all the time, as if he was worried. Konoha Chunin dressed in standard ninja uniforms followed the wheels with a relaxed expression. The task was only taken in the morning. They were going to escort the businessman and the female family members on the carriage to the country of tea. Nor can it be dangerous. Call, call, call. 3 whirlwinds suddenly rolled up in front of the carriage. 3 black-robed masked ninjas appeared out of thin air and stopped the carriage. The tall horse pulling the carriage seemed to be frightened. Raising his hand, he was not brought down by the reins, and then patted the horse's body continuously, soothing the frightened horse. "Sir. This is." Konoha Chunin, who had been following on both sides of the carriage, hurried forward. "Anbu works." The short and sturdy ninja headed hoarsely and glanced sharply at the man in the car. The frightened man's face turned pale, and he immediately raised his hand again, a letter of assignment. To Konoha Chunin, 1 young and 1 middle-aged, the young ninja immediately took out the mission letter from his arms and respectfully handed it to Anbu's sturdy ninja. The stocky ninja opened the quest letter and looked at it, then raised his hand to signal the other 2 Anbu ninjas to check. The carriage was searched from the inside out, and the curtains were lifted to look inside the carriage, and questioning was also carried out. Inside the carriage were female relatives and half-year-old children. The middle-aged man is a merchant from the tea country. He arrived at Konoha 5 days ago. Hearing that the south is not peaceful, he hired 2 Konoha Chunin to escort him. The old coachman is the servant of the middle-aged merchant. After some search and inspection, the 3 Anbu ninjas stood beside the carriage and looked at each other with puzzled eyes. No problems were found. This section of the street is already empty, and the pedestrians who were still passing here all retreated to the far sides of the street, crowded with people, all pointing around the carriage and talking in a low voice. Big Lord. The middle-aged businessman didn't know why he was in trouble. Anbu stocky ninja glanced at the middle-aged businessman and suddenly drew a knife. Brush. The knife light swept across the middle-aged businessman's throat. The middle-aged businessman was completely stunned. He stared at the stocky ninja with straight eyes. After a while, he raised his hand in disbelief and touched his throat, with only a trace of blood on it. A very thin layer of skin was broken. Thump. The middle-aged businessman sat down on the ground, as if he was about to collapse, trembling all over. There were several exclamations from the crowds far away on both sides of the street. They were obviously frightened. They immediately understood that the knife just now was just a test. Sorry. The stocky ninja let out a low voice, sheathed his sword, and then turned his head to look up at the tower on the side. The 7-story restaurant has 3 figures on the top eaves. The one on the left is extremely tall, and the one on the right is relatively thin. The man in the middle is of moderate height, but he is thinner. All 3 of them are dressed as Anbu ninjas. Wear a mask to let people see the real face. It was Might Dai, Lu Han, and Hyuga Luo Ning. The reason why Anbu ninja stopped the middle-aged businessman's carriage was because the acting captain, Han Guang, said they had a problem. Sir, is there a mistake? Hyuga Luo Ning turned her head and glanced at Lu Han and asked in a low voice. It's really interesting, Lu Han murmured, glanced at Hyuga Luo Ning, then raised his hand. Let's go down. Call, call, call. The 3 of Lu Han appeared near the carriage, and the 3 Anbu ninjas beside the carriage bowed their heads respectfully at the same time. Captain. Yeah, Lu Han responded indifferently, took 2 steps forward and looked at the slumped middle-aged businessman. Let the people in the car get off. Big, adult. They were wives and children. This. The middle-aged businessman raised his head and stammered in extreme panic. I said, let the people in the car get off. Lu Han made a dull and cold voice under his mask, and put his hand on the handle of the knife. My lord, this will make madam. The old servant of the coachman shouted shiveringly, climbed into the carriage, opened the curtain in front of the carriage, and said a few words to the inside, and soon. The businessman's wife and son got out of the carriage, and they all stood beside the wheel in horror. The businessman's wife was a woman in her 30s. Not to mention how beautiful her face was, she was also extremely attractive. There was a touch of tenderness between her brows, which was quite pitiful. The son of the merchant was already 12 or 13 years old, but he couldn't compare with the ninja who was 12 or 13 years old. The children of ordinary merchants were pampered and had no courage. After getting off the carriage, they kept hiding behind their mother. Dare not look up at people. You, come here. Lu Han glanced, then raised his hand and hooked the businessman's wife. Big, sir, what's the matter? The businessman's wife was already crying and didn't dare to go forward. Come here, Lu Han shouted again. The businessman's wife finally took small steps and took a few steps towards Lu Han. The businessman's son wanted to follow his mother, but was stopped by the old servant. The middle-aged businessman had already stood up with his hand on the carriage, his eyes widened, his mouth trembling, but he was speechless. The surrounding Anbu and Konoha ninjas all looked at Lu Han in surprise. Wow! Lu Han watched the businessman's wife approach him, suddenly clenched the handle of the knife, slowly pulled the knife out, and stared into the eyes of the businessman's wife. Big, sir, what did I do wrong? The businessman's wife screamed and cried, and the whole person froze in place. Acting skills are good, Lu Han commented indifferently and suddenly raised the knife. Ah! Don't look. There were exclamations from the crowd on both sides of the street. Sir, are you mistaken? Hyuga Luo Ning said eagerly, putting one hand on Lu Han's shoulder. At the same time, the front and rear of the carriage, the houses on both sides, and upstairs, all rolled into a whirlwind. More than a dozen ninjas appeared, and the Konoha guards arrived. They glanced at the situation on the street. No one said a word. They had no right to interfere with Anbu. Take your hand away. Lu Han tilted his head to look at Hyuga Luo Ning. Sir, I think this may be a misunderstanding. Hyuga Luo Ning said firmly. Chapter 0233 _ Ghost Lights Reflecting Flowers. Challenge the captain's authority. Or stick to your bottom line? Or do you think you should find out the truth first? All. Hyuga Luo Ning has already done it. Perhaps it was because she had known Lu Han for a long time, so she had the courage to do this. Although as far as Anbu is concerned, even if he kills by mistake, there will not be much punishment. If it is the captain who does this, it is estimated that there will not be any punishment. 2 innocent women tragically killed by the knife. From Konoha's point of view, doing so in public may also have a very bad influence on Konoha. The atmosphere on the street suddenly condensed. Other Anbu ninjas all looked at Hyuga Luo Ning with a strange look in their eyes. What a guts! But in the bottom of their hearts, they also agreed with Hyuga Luo Ning's approach. Thunder-like might means are necessary, but indiscriminate killing of innocent people is also not right. Take it. Your hand. Take it. Open it. Lu Han squinted at Hyuga Luo Ning, and his voice became more and more low. Hyuga Luo Ning's eyes were a little yuhi, staring at Lu Han with big eyes. After a very short stalemate, she still took her hand away. Her eyes were flashing, and she couldn't believe that Lu Han would become such a cold person. There is no reason to doubt, but also to kill. Even some. Unreasonable. Lu Han ignored Hyuga Luo Ning and looked at the businessman's wife in front of him. I've been terrified. His legs trembled as if he couldn't stand. You are very successful. You have deceived many people, but you shouldn't come to Konoha. You can't deceive me, Lu Hansen said coldly, turning around quickly as soon as he finished speaking. The sword light swept across. My lord, what did I do wrong? Poochie. The screaming voice of the businessman's wife stopped abruptly, and Lu Han's knife swept across her body, bringing up a cloud of white smoke. The smoke rose, the businessman's wife disappeared, and Lu Han's knife smashed the dark yuhi-colored wooden ball to pieces. At the same time, on the top of the carriage, the decorative wooden balls disappeared, and the businessman's wife appeared. Her aura had completely changed, her face was no longer weak, her eyes were sharp as thorns, and her body was slightly squatted. With one foot behind, supporting the wooden beam of the carriage with one hand, raising his right arm slightly, holding a sharp kunai in his hand. Substitute. She's already ready for a stand-in. Lu Han's knife was extremely fast just now, but in fact, he has slowed down the speed of his knife, otherwise this woman would not have any chance to use the double technique. Kurigakure Anbu Scout, Level 20 White Silver Boss, Ghost Lantern Reflecting Flowers. Yuhi's name was in the carriage through the Insight map, so he sent someone to check it. It was not until the Kurigakure ninja disguised as the businessman's wife got off the carriage that Lu Han knew where she came from and how strong she was. Whoa, 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 whoa. A large group of people around, Anbu ninjas, Konoha Police Force ninjas, all drew their weapons at this very moment. The woman who was forced by Lu Han to reveal her identity as a ninja was already surrounded. Hyuga Luo Ning was stunned. Middle-aged businessman, the son of a merchant. The old servants and coachmen were stunned. How did you find me? Gui Deng Yinghua squinted at Lu Hanbing and asked, this is not just her question. It is also the question of everyone present except Lu Han. No one could figure it out, because Lu Han didn't even question Ghost Deng Yinghua, he just cut people down. I said, you can't lie to me. Lu Han said lightly, now I'll give you a chance, put down your weapons, and tell the truth, you will be locked in a dungeon, and there may be a chance to survive. Catch alive. A level 20 white silver boss, Lu Han won't get any useful drops even if he kills him, he's alive. If he can ask for information, that's also a feat. Ghost Lantern Yinghua showed a struggling look, and glanced at the Konoha ninja who were eyeing around, and did not speak for a while. Thump. Suddenly, it was the middle-aged businessman who knelt down, kowtowed to Lu Han and cried, Sir. She is my wife with hair, please. Have a wife? Lu Han asked in a strange voice. Yes. We have been married for more than 10 years, although I don't know she is a ninja, but there must be a misunderstanding. More than 10 years. Lu Han frowned. Not right. The merchant, his son, and the old servant are all orange names. They obviously don't know the true identity of Ghost Lantern Yinghua. Do you bring your wife and children with you every time you go out to do business? Lu Han asked after thinking. Then, no, it's not. The middle-aged businessman looked at Lu Han again and said, no. It's about 3 years ago, my wife said. She said that she wanted the child to go into business with me. Learn from me. It's not good for her to stay at home alone. So she just follows me. Does she sometimes disappear for a short period of time? Yes. She will run away when she loses her temper, but will come back on her own. Well, your wife died 3 years ago. The one above is pretending to be your wife and asking you to take her to do business with you. In fact, while doing business with you, he is waiting for an opportunity to steal information from the major ninja villages. What? The middle-aged businessman screamed in disbelief, and suddenly turned his head to look at the roof of the car. Ghostlight Yinghua's face was expressionless, and she did not deny Lu Han's words. She glanced at the Konoha ninjas around, she slowly put down kunai, stood up straight on the roof, and raised her hands. Surrender. Without any possibility of resistance, she can only choose to surrender. Under Lu Han's gaze, she raised her hands and jumped from the roof of the car to the ground. Lu Han raised his hand and gestured. Immediately, 2 Anbu ninjas stepped forward and were about to take her down. At this time, Ghost Lamp Yinghua swiftly turned around, swung his arms, and threw 3 kunai from his sleeves in a row. They shot at the middle-aged businessman, the son of the businessman, and the old servant and coachman. The surrounding Konoha ninjas were subconsciously avoiding alert, and no one thought about maintaining the safety of the 3. Snapped, snapped, snapped. 3 crisp sounds. The 3 kunai thrown out by Lu Han with one hand came first, knocking all the 3 kunai from the Ghost Lamp Yinghua flying. Let's all die with me. Ghost Lantern Yinghua screamed shrilly, hands seal extremely fast. Violent chakra waves rose from her. Lu Han suddenly changed color. The detonating talisman, all out of the way. Chapter-221-240 Konoha Guardian Program. Different detonating ninja tools have a unique atmosphere. There is no secret technique that can make ninjas self-destruct so quickly. If ninjas want to self-destruct, they need to speed up the flow of chakra and cause confusion. That is a very complicated thing. The process can never be completed in an instant. It can only be a detonator. And not one, but a lot of detonators. It's all hidden in the Ghost Lights Yinghua. Be careful. Go back. Including the Konoha guards ninjas, more than 20 ninjas around them all retreated. Fright flashed in the eyes of some people. I didn't expect Ghost Lantern Yinghua to be so decisive. She pretended to surrender and jumped off the roof of the carriage, just to maximize the power of the detonating talisman. If the explosion point is high, it is easier to avoid. Even an ordinary person with no strength, lying on the ground directly, may save his life. Lu Han jumped up quickly, and the anti-shock force blasted a big hole under his feet. He disappeared on the spot, and appeared next to Ghost Dang Yinghua in an instant. Instead of retreating, he advanced. He has to stop. Don't let a lot of detonating talismans explode on the street, otherwise, even if the ninjas can escape, the ordinary people in the shops on both sides of the street will be dead. Let's go. Lu Han grabbed Ghost Lantern Yinghua's arm, stepped and twisted his waist, consuming 50% of the chakra to bless his arm rounded and struggled. Call. Ghost Lantern's reflecting flowers shot into the sky like cannonballs. Go straight to the height of 200 meters. Boom. Rumble boom. Boom. On this day, extremely dazzling fireworks were set off over the streets of Konoha, and the roar resounded throughout Konoha. The fire spread 20 or 30 meters in the sky. There was chaos in the street, screaming and shouting came one after another, but it soon fell silent. Many people raised their heads and looked at the firelight that had not yet dissipated in the sky, and a sense of fear appeared in their hearts. If it weren't for people being thrown into the sky, the consequences would be unimaginable. Damn it, how many detonating talismans do you have? Lu Han kept his arms swinging, cursed in a low voice, gasped violently, and slowly stood up straight. Captain! Sir! Anbu ninjas who had retreated into the distance all looked at Lu Han, and just made a sound, then paused again. I'm fine, Lu Han said indifferently, glanced at the middle-aged businessman, the businessman's son, and the old servant coachman who were crawling on the ground with their heads on the ground, raised his hand and signaled, take the three of them away for questioning. Since the woman wanted to kill them, they probably knew something. Yes, your lord. The ninjas took orders. Yeah, Lu Han made a nasal sound, and the hand seal disappeared in place. Then, Might Dai and Hyuga Luo Ning also disappeared. Anbu Station, Command Room. Lu Han appeared on the chair out of thin air, took off the mask and threw it on the table, leaning on his side and holding his forehead tiredly, blinking thinking about the past few days. He has been the acting captain of Anbu for a month, and today is the 15th day of the implementation of the Konoha guardianship plan. For the past 15 days, Lu Han had hardly practiced, and had spent all his time capturing the spies in Konoha village. The plan made by Lu Han involves two parts, arresting and guarding. In terms of protection, relying entirely on Anbu ninjas, Lu Han used his insight into the map to determine which places the spies often go to and which places they will never go. For example, in the Konoha civilian residential area or in the gathering place of large clans, spies basically do not go there. The former is worthless and the latter is too dangerous. In places such as the Hokage building and the Konoha security department, spies will go, but they are extremely dangerous. Because those two places are more dangerous, but there may also be valuable information. For the vast majority of spies, there are two places they like to go. One is the northern district of downtown Konoha, where there are many foreigners and it is not easy to be found there, and many important departments of Konoha are located there. It is easy to find information in the area. The second is the trading area of Konoha, which is also a street where big businessmen from various countries often come and go. There, you can not only inquire about the news about Konoha, but also inquire about the information about ninja villages in other countries. The mission hall is also a place where spies often go. They go to release missions and take the opportunity to eavesdrop on the conversations of Konoha ninjas, many of which are related to the missions released by Konoha. Because Lu Han has an insight map that can cover a radius of 10 kilometers, he only needs to open the map once, and he can see a large area of orange, and the Yuhi color will show regional aggregation. Where they often go and where they don't go is clear at a glance. In accordance with this rule, Lu Han made a guard plan, and arranged more secret guards in places where spies often go, which is very direct and effective. When it comes to arresting, Lu Han has to do it himself. Anbu ninjas are already very capable. They can't see the problem as a spy. They must have extraordinary abilities. Other people. Konoha guardianship plan, formulated by Lu Han, has achieved brilliant results. More than 150 spies were arrested and killed. It also includes 7 Jonin. This is far more than everyone expected, including Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. However, there are still some spies who escaped from Konoha. Lu Han is incapable of being a clone. It is impossible for him to arrest 2 people at the same time. If he arrests one, the other may be scared away. Somewhat scary indeed. Because Lu Han never misses as long as he confirms the target. No matter what you pretend to be, you can't fool Lu Han's eyes. Click. The door opened suddenly. Lu Han, who had been thinking about the matter for a long time, came back to his senses and smiled when he saw Hatake Sakumo entering the door, looks in good spirits. Hatake Sakumo has got rid of the wheelchair and can walk, but his face is still pale, much better than half a month ago. Information just received. Hatake Sakumo walked over to the table with a serious expression. Because his body has recovered somewhat, and Lu Han is busy catching spies, so the latest Anbu information is reported to him first, and he will deal with it first. What? Lu Han's heart sank. It's worth Hatake Sakumo to say it himself, and showing such an expression is definitely not a trivial matter. Tsunade and the others disappeared in the country of Vortex. Chapter 0235-Heavy Heart. Bang. What? Luhan patted the table and stood up suddenly. See for yourself. Hatake Tsukumo took out the scroll and threw it at Luhan. Luhan caught the scroll and quickly opened it to look. The information sent from the country of the vortex last night stated that Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru had a fight with the 7 ninja swordsmen of Mist once half a month ago, and the 7 ninja swordsmen of Mist won, but Kurigakure lost several Jonins in that battle, and 3 Tsunade broke out with injuries. In the following half-month, the two sides had 2 contacts. Because the 7 ninja swordsmen of the Mist are too powerful, no matter if the Konoha ninja squadron encounters it or the ninja brigade of the vortex country, they can hide if they can. There are only 3 Tsunade, and every time they meet, they will fight each other fiercely. 3 days ago, the two sides fought for the 4th time. The outcome of the battle is unclear. When Senju Nozomi and the Konoha scout troop arrived at the scene, the forest had been completely destroyed, and blood could be found, but there was no body and no one. 2 days passed, and there was still no news from Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru, so I reported the situation to Konoha. The country of the vortex has entered a period of war. Although the village of Uzushiogakure has not yet been attacked, the village of Kurigakure has sent more than 2 corps of ninjas into the country of the vortex, and Konoha has also sent several brigades and scout battalions belonging to the main battle corps to form a special corps in the country of vortex to assist Uzushiogakure village to fight with Kurigakure. The commander of the special corps is the temporarily transferred Konoha scout corps commander Sarutobi Rodan, the younger brother of Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, now 35 years old, stronger than the Tsunade 3. There is also information that ninjas from Sunagakure village in the land of winds and Kumogakure village in the land of thunder appear in the land of vortex, but there are not many. The ninja world has entered a period of local wars. 2 main battlefields, one is the country of vortex, multi-party melee, the other is the country of rain. The country of wind Sunagakure and the country of soil Iwagakure have sent legions into the country of rain, and have been several large-scale encounters. In this case, it is not a big deal for the ninja to be injured. If the Tsunade 3 were not found, and the Tsunade 3 had special status, Senju Nozomi would not report the situation to Konoha. 7 people of ninja sword, it's really damn. Luhan looked at the information and bit Kiba in a low voice. You can't leave Konoha, Hatake Tsukumo said again. Huh. Luhan put down the scroll and looked at Hatake Tsukumo. My injury is not yet healed, the Konoha guardianship plan is still in progress, and you are indispensable here. Hatake Tsukumo said. He understood Han and Tsunade's feelings, but he had to say this. Lord Hokage will definitely not let you leave, but you don't have to worry too much. No one cares about Tsunade and the others more than Lord Hokage. They practiced with Lord Hokage when they were very young, just like Lord Hokage's children. I think that Hokage-sama will arrange for the right people to go to the country of vortex. Tsunade and the others won't leave so easily. After half an hour, the antique room. Detailed report to Sarutobi Hiruzen. You continue to carry out the Konoha guardianship plan. This is the top priority at present, and you cannot afford to miss it. As Hatake Tsukumo expected, Sarutobi Hiruzen did not send Luhan, who has strong reconnaissance ability. In this period, he would definitely not let Luhan go out. Konoha is not alone. In this way, I don't need Anbu's people. I will send Hyuga Heian to lead the team to the country of vortex to find out the situation. Hyuga Heian, the head of the Hyuga branch, is also the father of Hyuga Luoning. His strength is second only to Hyuga Huyang, the chief of the main clan, in the Hyuga family. This is because the Hyuga family controls the curse mark, and his Byakugan is 1 point less. Observation angle, otherwise he is not necessarily weaker than Hyuga Huyang. Hyuga Huyang is a high-level Konoha, and there is no clear position during the non-war period, similar to a consultant. Hyuga Heian's position in Konoha is the captain of the Konoha Independent Scout Unit. The Independent Scout Unit is different from the Scout Corps. This is a special scout unit composed entirely of Hyuga's ninjas. It is the ace of all Konoha scout units and the elite of the elite. Sarutobi Hiruzen directly sent Hyuga Heian to lead the team to the country of Vortex, and this kind of attention is rare. After all, he is his apprentice. He is more anxious than anyone else, but he has to take into account the overall situation. After returning to the Anbu station, Luhan's mood was still very heavy. Although Hyuga Heian would go to the country of Vortex, if they were already dead, what's the use of who went? In the original book, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru will definitely not die in this period. But Luhan knew that the Hokage world he was in was different from the original. It was because of Luhan himself that he came, and his actions had a butterfly effect. So many things have changed. Therefore, no one dares to say now whether the missing Tsunade 3 are alive or dead. Go back to the cave room. Luhan had instructed Might Dai to stay outside the door and not allow anyone to disturb him. In front of the stone wall, Luhan sat cross-legged on the futon, trying to calm down his new self. For a long time, Luhan suddenly waved his hand and took out a kunai. He has never been so eager to complete Hiraishin's practice as soon as possible, as long as the Master Hiraishin, even if the Master's only Hiraishin's initial ability, will make his strength qualitative leap. Time flies. Luhan was still failing again and again. Every time he hit Kuushang, the technique was wrong and incomplete. He didn't lose patience because of his urgency. Instead, he was more patient. Failure is not terrible. The only thing is that there is no hope of success. Luhan knows that he will succeed, it is only a matter of time. Dong dong. There was a sudden knock on the door. What's wrong? Luhan frowned and raised his head. He had already said that no one would disturb him unless it was a very important matter. Lord Hangguang, Lord Hokage has sent someone here. Might Dai's voice sounded outside the door. Huh. Luhan's face changed slightly, and then he jumped up and disappeared into the room. Outside the door, the cave passage. Captain, this is what Lord Hokage asked me to hand over to you. Anbu ninja wearing a black robe and mask said coldly, dragging the black scroll with both hands and handing it to Luhan. This is... Luhan was stunned for a moment, his eyes flashing. Forbidden technique real. Chapter 0236 _ They have gone through life and death. Forbidden technique scrolls from Sarutobi Hiruzen. Luhan can confirm that the scroll contains some kind of forbidden technique, which is the same as the Hiraishin scroll that Luhan got last time. It doesn't look different on the outside. Even the chakra fluctuations on it are the same, it's the sealed chakra. It fluctuates and must be unsealed to open the scroll and see what's inside. What Luhan wondered was not the scroll, but why Sarutobi Hiruzen sent someone to deliver the scroll at this time. Kind of weird. Calm down. Brilliant rewards for the Konoha Guardian project. Or, just suddenly felt that this technique was suitable for cold light practice, so I asked someone to send it over. It seems possible. It is difficult to guess the mind of the superior. Back in the cave room, Luhan sat cross-legged in front of the stone wall again, and quickly calmed himself down completely, and then the hand seal. Unsealed it and opened it for a look. In the afternoon, in the southwest of the country of vortices, in the rolling deep mountains and old forests. Don't die, don't die, don't. In the dimly lit cave, the woman's anxious voice contained unease. The rays of medical ninjutsu rose one after another, and the healing power fell on the cold man again and again. Orochimaru, severely wounded and dying. It was an extremely serious internal injury. He lay flat on the ground, and there was not a trace of injury visible on the surface of his body, but he was in a coma, and his breath was like a gossamer. Tsunade was healing him. Inside the cave, Jiraiya, who was covered in dried blood, was leaning against the wall. His face was pale, his arm had been splinted, but it was broken. 3 days ago, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru met the 7 ninja swordsmen again, and this time was different from the previous ones. The previous 7 members of the Mist Ninja Sword. There were actually only 5 people. The new owners of Thunder Saber Kiba and Double Saber Flounder have not yet been selected within Kurigakure. It is not a simple matter. On the contrary, it is very complicated and bloody cruel. As one of the 5 major ninja villages, Kurigakure village has many strong people, and there are not a few who want to be members of the 7 ninja swordsmen. They compete with each other. Challenge. Fight. It was only recently that the new owners of Thunder Sword Kiba and Double Sword Flounder were completely determined. Those two came to the country of the Vortex, joined with Munashi and other people, and gathered more than 10 Kurigakure elite Jonin. In the case of Tsunade Sanin by estimating the opponent's strength, he launched a lore action. But it didn't work. The 3 Tsunade have been together since childhood, and have performed tasks together for more than 10 years. The strength of the 3 of them together is not as simple as 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. Orochimaru launched the evil forbidden technique at the expense of the body, led Jiraiya and Tsunade to successfully break through the siege, and then faced the pursuit of Munashi Oni-7 and others. Jiraiya was seriously injured in order to protect Tsunade. They escaped the pursuit, but they were dying, seriously injured, and only Tsunade was okay. Because Orochimaru and Jiraiya are protecting her. As a woman, as a medical ninja, although Tsunade has physical skills, she is the weakest in combat among the 3. Whenever she encounters a life and death crisis, she is the object of protection. Cough. Cough cough. A light cough suddenly sounded. Orochimaru's body vibrated, and he slowly opened his eyes. Wake up, wake up. It's okay, it's okay. He's not going to die. Tsunade burst into tears, covered his mouth, and Jiraiya came over. The two surrounded Orochimaru. Orochimaru's breathing seemed to be a lot easier. He rolled his eyes a little, looked at Tsunade left, Jiraiya right, and made a faint voice. I'm not dead. Won't die, never. Tsunade was weeping. Brother, hold on. It'll be alright. Jiraiya took Orochimaru's hand. Life is really fragile, Orochimaru murmured in a low voice, and suddenly put his backhand on the ground and wanted to sit up, but just after exerting force, the corner of his mouth twitched and he lay back again. It hurts. Unbelievable pain. Don't move, you can't. Tsunade continued. I need someone. Orochimaru interrupted Tsunade, his voice trembling, a person with enough vitality. Quiet. Tsunade and Jiraiya looked at each other and they understood what Orochimaru meant. Orochimaru likes to study special and evil techniques. At only 21 years old, he has developed a lot of techniques by himself, but they all have strong side effects. Compared with the powerful forbidden techniques of Konoha that prohibit ninja practice, Orochimaru is at this time. Master's forbidden technique is also very powerful, but the sequelae are even bigger. Therefore the value is limited. He used the forbidden technique before to break out with the 2 of them. It was the forbidden technique that affected his body, and now he needs a person's life. Use the forbidden technique to take a person's life to eliminate the sequelae caused by his previous forbidden technique. It cannot be the life of an ordinary person, it must be a ninja, or rather, a Jonin. I'm going. Tsunade stood up suddenly. There are Kurigakure ninjas searching nearby. If I don't come back before dark, Jiraiya, take Orochimaru out of here. Tsuna. Jiraiya wanted to say something, but Tsunade turned and disappeared. Tsunade is the kind of person who will never kill innocent people, but if it's the enemy's life, it doesn't matter. The question is, how difficult is it to capture a living Jonin in the village of Kurigakure? Although with Tsunade's strength, it is easy to solve a team led by Jonin alone, but the problem is, it cannot be exposed, must be clean. Otherwise, the 7 ninja blades of mist will definitely find her. Also find nearby Jiraiya, Orochimaru. At dusk. Whoa! A figure appeared out of thin air at the entrance of the cave, and a strong bloody aura rushed into the cave. It was Tsunade. Tsunade. Jiraiya standing beside Orochimaru suddenly stood up. I'm fine, the blood of the enemy. Tsunade walked into the cave. She liked clean things very much, but at this time it was too dirty. She still carried a person in her hand, a middle-aged ninja who had been in a coma. Kurigakure ninja, should be a ninja affiliated with the Kurigakure Scout Unit. How many days will you recover? Tsunade left the unconscious middle-aged man beside Orochimaru. It will take 7 days to eliminate the sequelae of the forbidden technique. Orochimaru whispered. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya again. Chapter 0237 What a hassle. Jiraiya's right arm was injured and fractured. Although there are other internal injuries on her body, they have been healed by Tsunade. Only her arm is broken, which is difficult for Tsunade to deal with at this time. This is very troublesome. Jiraiya can run and jump now, and escape is not a big problem, but it is difficult to hand seal, and the fighting strength does not exist in 10. According to estimates, even if Tsunade continues to give Jiraiya as long as every day, it will take at least half a month for Jiraiya's fracture to heal. Fortunately, it is not a comminuted fracture, otherwise it will take at least a month, and it may even not heal. Hopefully we get out of here alive, Tsunade whispered. This is the territory of the country of Vortex, but it is no longer the sphere of influence controlled by the village of Uzushiogakure. The southwest mountain range of the country of Vortex has been controlled by Kurigakure and belongs to the enemy's area. They can't expect Konoha or the village of Uzushiogakure to come here to rescue. First of all, they are not. I don't know where the people are, and secondly, even if they knew, they wouldn't necessarily be able to enter this mountain range. There are Kurigakure ninjas everywhere. In fact, Tsunade can leave alone and go back to report. No one can stop her unless she encounters the 7 ninja blades of mist. Leaving here is not a problem, but she is not at ease. Since she is gone, there will be no one to protect the injured Jiraiya and Orochimaru. If an accident happens, she will regret it. The first ninja war, Tsunade, Jiraiya, Orochimaru 3 did not experience. By the time they graduated from ninja school, the first ninja war was over. And this time, now, at this very moment, they are in the middle of a war, and they are participating in a war in the sense of war for the first time. At the age of 21, they realize the cruelty and danger of war. It is also the first time that they have fallen into such a desperate situation hovering between life and death. Half a month later, Konoha Village. Konoha officially issued an announcement to the public that Konoha is about to enter the cessation period. All foreign businessmen and others are requested to leave Konoha as soon as possible. In half a month, Konoha will be officially closed, prohibiting any non-permitted outsiders from entering Konoha. Konoha Anbu Station, Command Room. Information from the Land of Rain. Hanzo of the Salamander seems to have reached an agreement with the village of Iwagakure, the land of the land. A Megakure village sent an unknown number of ninjas to participate in the battle between the Land of Wind and Land of the Land. The main force of the village of Iwagakure has retreated to on the northwestern frontier of the Land of Rain. Iwagakure Tsuchikage has already begun negotiating with Hanzo of the Salamander. The Magic Front has returned from the Land of Rain, completed the evacuation operation, brought back all the Konoha ninjas who were active in the Land of Rain, and fought against the Sunagakure Village Scout Unit during the evacuation process, killing the squad leader of the Sunagakure Village Scout Unit. The elite Jonin, collapse. Hyuga Benin, codenamed Bailey, was reporting to the acting captain, Hengwang, behind the desk. Yeah. After listening to the report, Luhan looked at Benin Hyuga and asked, "Is there any news about the country of Vortex? Tsunade and the others?" "It's the same news from last time. It was sent back to Konoha 3 days ago. Hyuga Haeyong has led a team of elite shinobi to enter the Kurigakure occupied area to search. So far, there is no news of Tsunade." Hyuga Bonin continued, "Not yet. The latest news comes." Okay. Luhan nodded, heaving a sigh of relief. No news is good news. Prove at least, Tsunade, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, they're still alive. If he dies, it's been so long, and if Kurigakure does it, he won't hide it from Konoha's morale. Do you have anything else to do? Luhan, who was thoughtful for a moment, suddenly asked. Hyuga Bonin hadn't left yet. Sir. Hyuga Burnin hesitated. What's wrong? Lu Han frowned slightly. Huan Feng went to see Lord Hokage after reporting the situation to Captain White Fang. Hyuga Burnin said. Huh. Lu Han frowned deeper. What do you mean? He went to see Lord Hokage. He may want to, Hyuga Burnin said in a long tone, maybe challenge the position of acting captain. It wasn't that he was making a small report, but that he was obliged to tell the matter. Captain, in Anbu, any special circumstances must be reported to the captain. Challenge me. Lu Han looked strange, raised his hand and touched his nose. Is it necessary? In another month at most, Mr. White Fang will recover from his injury and take charge of Anbu again. At that time, the position of acting captain will be removed. He challenged me, including the time for arranging the challenge task. Even if he becomes the acting captain, it will not be long. I asked him before he went to see Lord Hokage, and he didn't deny. I feel. Hyuga Burnin shook his head and sighed. He may be trying to prove himself. Although he understands, Lord, you are personally appointed by Lord Hokage, and when he comes to challenge you, it is tantamount to denying Lord Hokage's decision. As far as his Uchiha clan's identity is concerned, doing so is likely to arouse Lord Hokage's disgust and even distrust. But I can't persuade him. It's really troublesome. I don't want to waste my time on this kind of thing. Lu Han looked a little annoyed, then asked after a while, can I refuse? According to the rules, no. Hyuga Burnin shook his head, hesitated for a moment, and then said, Sir. In fact, you have done a very good job. You have won the affirmation of Anbu's tolerance, so even if you leave the position of acting captain, in fact also, you don't have to worry. Hey, what do you mean? Lu Han smiled. Hyuga Burnin is Hyuga Luo Ning's cousin, also Hyuga Haeyong's cousin, who is at the top of the Hyuga branch. It was he who introduced Hyuga Luo Ning to Anbu. And Hyuga Luo Ning is now Lu Han's entourage, so it is inevitable that Lu Han and Hyuga Burnin are relatively close. Moreover, due to the relationship between age and ability, Hyuga Burnin, who has the top 5 strengths in the Anbu elite Jonin, although he respects Lu Han very much, he will never be afraid. My lord, you want to refuse, not because of worry. You don't think I'm his match. I can't say the same. In terms of ability, Lord Hengguang is definitely stronger, but if we talk about strength, Uchiha Bei's Sharingan is said to have improved again, and his pupil strength is stronger. I'm afraid. Chapter 0238 don't want to waste time. Sharingan. Lu Han looked at Bonin Hyuga and tapped his fingers on the table twice. How strong is his Sharingan? Actually, Lu Han didn't care how strong Uchiha Bai's third Tomo Sharingan was, he just I want to compare. In terms of pupil strength alone, his 3 Tomo Sharingan pupil strengths are ranked in the top 5 among the Uchiha clan. Hyuga Burnin continued, but because of his age, the number of master pupil skills is not comparable to that of the Uchiha clan. Those elders. After Hyuga Burnin finished speaking, he looked at Lu Han before he could say anything. Hengguang killed the Ringohiwa and Ma Ankang people by relying on powerful ninja tools. This is no secret in Anbu, and Anbu ninjas also know that the strength of Hengguang has been assessed by Lord Hokage and is an elite Jonin. Understood. Lu Han smiled and nodded. Okay, go ahead. Bonin Hyuga immediately bowed his head respectfully to Lu Han, turned and walked out. He had just reached the door, but stopped, hesitantly looked back at Lu Han and said, Lord Hengguang, I think. If Wanfeng challenges you, even if you give up, there is nothing to be ashamed of, your ability has been recognized, in terms of strength. You are nearly 20 years younger than Huan Feng. No one will think you are inferior. I'll consider it, Lu Han said, looking at his expression. He didn't want to talk about it again. Bonin Hyuga nodded to Lu Han again, pushed open the door and left. It's really troublesome. Trouble. Lu Han immediately leaned back on the chair and raised his hand to cover his forehead. Some headaches. Naturally, Lu Han was not worried about losing to Uchiha Bai. Even if Lu Han did not show his full strength and suppressed his strength to the level of the general elite Jonin, he would not be able to lose to Uchiha Bai. What really troubled Lu Han was that if Uchiha Bai challenged him, Lu Han had to abdicate or challenge him. The former, not impossible, after all, he was only acting as captain. Lu Han was determined to challenge White in the future. Fang, so it's okay to lose the position of acting captain now, but Lu Han doesn't want to leave a stain on Anbu's resume. And if you are challenged, it will be a waste of time. Challenge the position of Captain Anbu, you must first be able to beat Captain Anbu in terms of strength. Second, you also need to win the special mission. The so-called special tasks are specially set up for high-level job competition, such as going to a ninja village in a certain country to get important information. Go both at the same time. Whoever returns to Konoha first and brings back the information wins. It can also be a complex layout in the forest behind Konoha to create a target task that needs to be completed, similar to the ninja level exam. Whoever completes it first wins. There are many ways of special missions. Before Sarutobi Hiruzen had not made up his mind to make Lu Han the acting captain, Danzo had already arranged a special mission for the battle between Hyuga Bonin and Uchiha Bai as acting captain. Cancelled due to superior position. Lu Han is just annoying about this. It's really a waste of time. Lu Han doesn't want to do any tasks now, just retreat. Retreat. Close again. Improve your strength as quickly as possible. He can't afford forbidden technique, so he can only rely on his talent to practice hard. Click. The door opened suddenly. Lu Han frowned and tilted his head, then eased his brows again. It was Hyuga Luo Ning. Except for Hataki Sakumo, she was the only one who would enter directly without knocking on the door. Because she is a follower, this is not overstepping. Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, the guards, when reporting the situation, would appear in the room in a blink of an eye, and would not knock on the door. What's wrong? Lu Han asked while looking at Hyuga Luo Ning. Hyuga Luo Ning in an Anbu ninja suit can really be called heroic, but she is too young. She is only 14 years old, and she is still a little young. Just now, I heard something. Hyuga Luo Ning walked to the table and stood still, looking hesitant, her eyes flickering, and she didn't dare to look into Lu Han's eyes. The last time she was on the street, she obstructed Lu Han from killing her. Although Lu Han did not punish her afterwards, she has not dared to look directly at Lu Han since then. It has been half a month. Every time she talks to Lu Han, she is cautious. The appearance will no longer be cold. What's the matter? Just say it. Lu Han smiled slightly. His attitude towards Hyuga Luo Ning became more and more gentle, not only because Hyuga Luo Ning became more and more obedient, but more importantly, she was a green name. The second green name. The first is Senju Senro. Lu Han didn't delve into why Hyuga Luo Ning became a green name, but he could guess some, such as a crush, infatuation with the strong, or because of some belief. Senju Senluo became a green name to Lu Han because of his belief that Lu Han will definitely kill Danzo. And Hyuga Luo Ning, it may also be because of joining Anbu, who has a firmer belief than others. It is not impossible, although such loyalty does not conform to the logic of the green name judgment, but on the day that Hyuga Luo Ning joined Anbu, she was still the orange name when Lu Han reviewed the newcomers, and she will be the green name when we meet again, so it is hard to say. Human emotions are very complicated. My own person, who can no longer be kissed. Just now I heard them talk about. In the hall, it seems that Lord Wanfeng is going to challenge you and challenge the position of acting captain. Hyuga Luo Ning said, naturally showing a worried look. Who said that? Lu Han was stunned. This story has already spread. Didn't Uchiha Bai just meet Hokage-sama? It's a few elite Jonins who are very familiar with Captain Wanfeng. Hyuga Luo Ning looked at Lu Han carefully, hesitated again, and said, are you going to abdicate on your own initiative? If you accept the challenge, it will be very dangerous. Even maybe. Hyuga Luo Ning didn't say anything. You care about me so much. Lu Han smiled strangely. No, No, Hyuga Luoning immediately lowered her head, not daring to look at Lu Han. It's just. Anbu needs to avoid internal friction. Dong dong. Captain, Lord Hokage is looking for you. Might Dai's voice suddenly sounded outside the door. Chapter 0239 _ Don't be too happy. Outside the door of the command room, the tall Might Dai stood in front of the door, and beside him was a ninja in a black robe and a mask. They were also Anbu ninjas, but their nature was different. The masked ninjas were trained by Anbu since childhood, similar to the root ninjas, but more human than the root ninjas. Whoa! The door opened, and Lu Han and Hyuga Luoning walked out one after another. Is Huan Feng with Lord Hokage? Lu Han asked, looking at the black-robed masked ninja. I just talked to Lord Hokage earlier. The black-robed masked ninja said respectfully but coldly, I have returned to the station at this time. If other people asked this question, he would definitely not say it, but as the acting captain of Anbu Lu Han asked, he didn't need to hide it. He is also an Anbu ninja. Generally speaking, unless Sarutobi Hiruzen specifically explains something that should not be said, Lu Han can know about the rest. You stay here, I'll go see Lord Hokage. Lu Han explained to Might Dai and Hyuga Luoning, and Hand Seal disappeared. Anbu Cave Square. When Lu Han appeared at the entrance of the passage, he felt the strange atmosphere in the square. Dozens of Anbu ninjas gathered everywhere. Uchiha Bai, who had returned, was in the rest area in the southeast corner. He was talking to Ben and Hyuga. Several elite Jonin were also gathered. Many people noticed Lu Han's appearance, and they all greeted those who were close, but inevitably, they looked at Lu Han with a strange look. Sir. Kato hurriedly walked to Lu Han's side. His face was a little anxious, and he wanted to say something. I already know. Lu Han raised his hand and gestured. Kato Kai was stunned for a moment, then looked back at Uchiha Bai's direction, then looked at Lu Han, and even whispered, Sir, this matter. You can find Captain White Fang. If he doesn't agree, then Huan Feng will take care of it. Without acting captain, naturally I won't challenge you again. Quote. Kato Kai said very directly, can Hatake Sakumo influence Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen's thoughts? Of course you can. He is Sarutobi Hiruzen's favorite person. If he does not agree, Sarutobi Hiruzen will also reconsider his decision. After all, in just 1 month, Hatake Sakumo will be fully recovered from his injury and will be able to rule Anbu again. At that time, the role of acting captain will inevitably be revoked. There is a job for a month, and now Uchiha Bai is here to challenge, and I feel that I have nothing to do. It can even be said that Sarutobi Hiruzen would certainly not agree to Uchiha's challenge if Hatake Sakumo strongly opposed it. He had to consider Hatake Sakumo's feelings, and he couldn't arrange for an acting captain who the captain didn't like, to be disgusting. Fuck, Lu Han cursed in a low voice. Sir, what did you say? Kato didn't seem to hear clearly, but he didn't understand the meaning of those 2 words at all. I mean, I will consider your suggestion. Lu Han reluctantly gave Kato a crack, then paused and said, you think I will lose to Huan Feng, right? That's not what this subordinate meant, it's just. Kato Kai lowered his head. Okay, Lord Hokage wants to see me. Lu Han raised his hand, and hurriedly walked towards the passageway that left Anbu's station. Lu Han left the Anbu station. Through Kato's mouth, the story of Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen summoning Han Guang spread throughout the Anbu station. There is no doubt that it must be related to the fact that Huan Feng will challenge the position of acting captain, even if the real situation is not in this way. Before Lu Han returned to the station, they could only think so. Congratulations, Master Wanfeng. Although it is impossible to serve as the acting captain for too long, this resume is also a great bargaining chip, which will greatly help the future promotion of Lord Huan Feng. What I'm saying is that even if Master Wanfeng leaves Anbu and is transferred to another department in the future, it will definitely be reused. The corner rest area, several elite Jonin have begun to congratulate Uchiha Bai. They are very familiar with Uchiha Bai. They are Uchiha Bai's hardcore cronies, and they often carry out tasks with Uchiha Bai. They are deeply aware of Uchiha Bai's strength. At this time, even before Hokage allowed Wanfeng to challenge Hengguang, they already thought that Uchiha Bai would definitely take the position of acting captain. Uchiha Bai readily accepted it, without saying a word of self-effacing, just nodded. Don't be too happy. Hyuga Burnin, who was sitting on the side bench, couldn't help splashing cold water. Uchiha glanced towards Hyuga Bonin in the White Knight. The other elite Jonin around did not speak. They are elite Jonin without senior positions. Hyuga Bonin is the third team leader of Anbu, second only to Senju Shiwan and Uchiha Bai, and they are not as strong as Hyuga Bonin, naturally not. We'll go beyond to argue with Hyuga Burnin. Although, Lord Hengguang's strength is not as good as you, but in terms of task ability, you are not necessarily stronger than him. Hyuga Burnin looked at Uchiha Bai. The two have never been friendly, and he also said something, so. You don't necessarily have the last laugh. Mission ability. Uchiha Bai smiled faintly. I have to admit, Lord Hengguang is incredible. I don't necessarily have stronger mission ability than him, but even if we have the same ability, I will definitely surpass him in terms of strength. Equally capable. Hyuga Burnin laughed, unabashedly mocking. You're confident. Why should I underestimate myself? Master Hengguang is only 13 years old, isn't it? Humph. You also know that Hengguang is only 13 years old. If you give him another 2 years, you have no chance at all. Why should I give him another 2 years? Acting captain, I want it now. Problems. Of course no problem, you have established enough merits, that's your right. Hyuga Bonin didn't care about Uchiha Bai's face at all. There were other ninjas around, but he didn't feel anything wrong, because Hyuga Bonin and Uchiha Bai often argue like this, and if there is a quarrel, I may even fight and learn from each other. I am used to it. It's useless to talk too much. Uchiha Bai suddenly stood up, with a slightly arrogant tone. My ability. My strength. You can't deny it. I'll let you see the day I become the acting captain. Chapter-221-240 You also think I will lose. After Uchiha Bai finished speaking, he walked out of the rest area. It seemed that he was too lazy to talk to Ben and Hyuga. Several elite Jonin who were close to him immediately followed. Uchiha Bai left, and there was no need for them to stay here. I have nothing to say to Hyuga Burnin. Huan Feng. Hyuga Burnin suddenly called out. Speak. Uchiha Bai stopped, but didn't turn around. You should understand. Hyuga Bonin looked at Uchiha Bai's back. You shouldn't question Hokage-sama's decision. It's dangerous, you should know. The position of acting captain will be revoked in a month at most. You are now it's too deliberate. You're taking care too much. Uchiha Bai replied, and strode away without hesitation. Alas. Hyuga Benin sighed, looking at Uchiha Bai's back with a complicated expression. The relationship between Hyuga Bonin and Uchiha Bai is very contradictory. They are always tit for tat and hostile to each other, but they are friends who can tell the truth. They would sometimes sit together and talk about Anbu's sensitive topics, about the captain, about Hokage, but they would never be villains and betray what each other said to anyone. The two have known each other for more than 20 years. If it wasn't for the clan, they would probably be close friends. Actually, Hyuga Burnin never doubted that Uchiha White Knight would fail. He had already expressed his true thoughts in front of Lu Han, but in front of Uchiha Bai. He just wanted Uchiha Bai to stop, because doing that would be really dangerous. Uchiha Ninja, this identity is very special in Anbu. It is very difficult for Uchiha Ninja to gain the trust of Hokage. Uchiha Bai did it. He is loyal to Hokage, but he wants to prove himself even more. But what he does now may make Hokage understand his heart, but it may also make Hokage dislike, disgust, and even question his loyalty. No one knows what Sarutobi Hiruzen will think, and the minds of the superiors are always the most difficult to guess. Hyuga Bonin doesn't want Uchiha to ruin the White Knight on this. The quaint room, Sarutobi Hiruzen sat cross-legged on the long wooden collapse. A few steps before the wooden collapse, Lu Han stood respectfully. Expedited information from the scout unit. Sarutobi Hiruzen threw the information scroll to Lu Han. Lu Han was stunned for a moment. He thought it was about acting as captain, but now it doesn't seem to be, or not only. Catching the scroll, Lu Han opened it and looked. The information comes from the country of Vortex, about Tsunade. The information sent from the country of Vortex last night stated that traces of Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru have been found in the southwest mountain range of the country of Vortex, and Hyuga Haeyoung has joined them. Since Hyuga Haeyoung led the elite Jonin team into the southwest mountains, only this elite Jonin came out of it to send this information. Konoha threw the flying ninja beasts. In fact, when Ben and Hyuga reported the recent situation to Lu Han, this information had already reached Sarutobi Hiruzen. However, because the scout unit is different from Anbu's intelligence channel, it is not an intelligence system, so Anbu will not get the information of the scout unit at the first time, and the first to get the information must be Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. This. Lu Han frowned as he looked at the information scroll. Some trouble. Although the Tsunade 3 people have been found, Tsunade, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, Hyuga Haeyoung, plus a few Hyuga family elite Jonin, it seems that it is difficult to escape from the southwest mountain range of the country of Vortex, because there is an enemy-occupied area, there are thousands of Kurigakure ninjas, and there are even powerful existences such as the 7 ninjas of the Mist Ninja. Recently, Kurigakure has transferred 2 flying ninja teams into the southwest mountains for high-altitude searches. If it weren't for the fact that Hyuga Haeyoung's plan attracted the attention of Kurigakure, it would be difficult for the Kurigakure elite Jonin he sent to pass information to escape from the enemy-occupied area. From another point of view, it is easier to escape alone than a group of people, because there are fewer people and the goal is smaller. It seems that Mizukage has the determination to kill my 3 disciples. Sarutobi Hiruzen said. His voice was still very calm. Sir. Lu Han put down the information scroll, looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen and said, need me to go to the country of Vortex? I'm thinking about this. Sarutobi Hiruzen stared at Lu Han, but I have too many things to deal with recently, Anbu can't be without someone to take care of. Hokage-sama means. In another month at most, White Fang will recover from his injuries. In fact, I want him to go to the land of Vortex. Your strength is not enough. Although you have excellent task ability, compared with White Fang, there is still a gap. If White Fang goes, maybe not only save people, but turn things around. So, Lu Han was stunned. What Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted to say seemed to be different from what he thought. I plan to add Anbu's vice captain position after White Fang recovers from injury. The rank is the same as the captain's assistant. You will be the vice captain. Sarutobi Hiruzen continued. While White Fang is out on the mission, you will continue to supervise Anbu. This way. Lu Han blinked his eyes and didn't come back to his senses for a while. There is something in Sarutobi Hiruzen's words. Lu Han felt it. But now there is a problem. Sarutobi Hiruzen said again, someone is going to challenge you to be the acting captain. If you lose the acting captain, when White Fang recovers, I will cancel the acting captain and appoint you as the deputy captain. It would be unfair. Of course, I can protect you, but it is against your authority within Anbu. Quote. Lu Han suddenly understood. Kabuto made a big circle. But the problem still lies with Uchiha Bai. Sarutobi Hiruzen is right. If Uchiha succeeds in Bai's challenge and becomes the acting captain, Sarutobi Hiruzen appoints Lu Han as the vice captain later. He can indeed do so, but it is very unfavorable to Lu Han. Anbu Zongren would probably think that Lu Han was going through the back door, and they dared not question Sarutobi Hiruzen, but they would definitely look down on Lu Han, which was not conducive to the unity within Anbu. Lord Hokage, you are so cautious about telling me this. Lu Han smiled slightly. You think I will lose too?